Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Uchiha, Draw Your Swords. Cut Down the Konoha. Chapter 81. The battlefield environment is complex and ever-changing. In order to ensure the timely transmission of information, Konoha has developed and perfected a very solid communication system in the context of two ninja wars in the past few decades. Mainly the communication class and the Hyuga clan, combined with various psychic beasts and advanced passwords, make Konoha's communication method both efficient and safe. Report. A communications class ninja rushed into the Hokage office, knelt on one knee and handed over the scroll. Lord Hokage, good news ahead. Third generation, who fell asleep at 4 in the morning and woke up at 6:30, showed no trace of fatigue on his face. He took the scroll, read it quickly, and finally slammed the table. Yoshi. Oh my god. At 10 o'clock last night, White Fang, who had just returned to Konoha after completing his mission, was ordered to face the danger and appointed a group of 9 members of the Anbu squadron. They rushed to the front line at night and starry to stop Kumogakure. At 2:30 in the morning, White Fang encountered the Kumogakure ninja and resolved the battle in 1 minute and 30 seconds. At 4:35 in the morning, the White Fang encountered the main force of the Kumogakure surprise attack force. They fought fiercely until 6 o'clock in the morning and won a great victory. Then he led the team to continue rushing to the front line, and did not stop the attack until it was confirmed that Kumogakure's frontline troops were retreating. It's good if we can stop it. The frontline troops will now have room to retreat, and they don't need to worry about being attacked on both sides. Third generation muttered to himself. As for the end of the battle report, regarding the extremely high death rate of 8 out of 9 members of the Anbu squadron led by White Fang, third generation did not see it, but instinctively ignored it. In war, there will always be casualties. Not to mention such a high-risk mission. Third generation glanced at the time. It is now 10 o'clock in the morning, exactly 12 hours after Kushina and Wakahui left Konoha. Third generation tapped his index finger on the table, and his excitement quickly turned into anxiety. He only slept for 2.5 hours in the early morning because of this. 9 Tails, 5 Tails, the last princess of the Kingdom of Whirlpool, and the successor of the Will of Fire like Ruo Huo. I can't sleep. Report. Another ninja rushed in, this time not from the communications class, but from Hyuga. The difference between the two is that most of the information reported by the communications class has been initially sorted out and reported directly in the form of scrolls or secret letters. The Hyuga clan, on the other hand, relies on ultra-long-range sight and transmits compressed information in secret codes such as warrants through various intelligence observation nodes, which is then deciphered and transmitted orally. The two complement each other, and there is no priority in intelligence. But the information transmission of the Hyuga clan is often more stable, especially when the battle situation is chaotic. Third generation Sama, Hyuga quickly reported. Due to wildfires, there is a certain delay in frontline intelligence. The following is a report from Nara Shikaku, the temporary commander-in-chief of Konoha's front line against Iwagakure. 36 hours ago, Konoha's reinforcements to the ninja troops on the front line of Iwagakure all suffered varying degrees of blows. After Iwagakure 4 Tails Jinchuriki led the troops to break through the defense line, the frontline troops encountered another attack from the main force led by the 2-day scale Lois. The interim commander-in-chief Nara Shikaku immediately issued an order to abandon the defense line and break it into pieces, trying to rely on the terrain to block the Iwagakure ninjas. This plan was destroyed by the Iwagakure ninjas' mountain fire offensive. The Konoha ninjas suffered heavy casualties and regrouped in the early morning, and complete the arrangement. According to observations, the time when the frontline troops were organized was the same as the time when the Uchiha clan arrived on the battlefield. At that time, the Uchiha clan emblem consisting of 3 blazing flames appeared in the sky, and Iwagakure's surprise attack force also began to give up the invasion and began to retreat, giving the frontline troops a chance to breathe. Above, this Hyuga finished speaking in one breath and did not retreat in a hurry. After confirming that the third generation project nods and does not need to be repeated or supplemented, he silently leaves the office. This is obviously a piece of information that has lost its timeliness, which means that the frontline communication system has been paralyzed. The situation is clearly dire. Although they provided timely support, Konoha obviously underestimated Iwagakure's madness. Setting fire to the mountain, the main force attacked with all its strength, and Iwagakure attacked Konoha like crazy, showing signs of conquering Konoha in one fell swoop. Da 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 da. Third generation's index finger taps on the table more and more frequently. These anxieties attack the brain, prompting third generation people to pick up cigarettes. Although he had smoked too much since morning and his throat was dry, third generation still lit the tobacco. Hiss. After taking a puff of cigarette, my throat felt burning, but my anxiety was gone. 12 hours and traveling at full speed, Fugaku and the others should, tisk. The second support force sent to the front line was composed entirely of the Uchiha clan. Although there is an element of Orochimaru's own initiative, now it seems that this is indeed the most suitable choice. Uchiha. This ancient clan has powerful fighting genes flowing in their blood, and they are born warriors. Under the teacher's policy, Uchiha has basically avoided major battles. The 40-year soft blockade has reduced the strength of this clan. Call. Third generation puffed out smoke, feeling anxious. Uchiha can stabilize the situation on the front line, which is naturally a good thing for Konoha and a good news. But I am afraid that this demon sword will be reborn under the baptism of war. The teacher's concerns are not unreasonable. If Danzo was still here, he would also. Tisk. Third generation currently brings back some not so good memories. Some of these memories come from recently, and some come from more than 10 years ago. They are not short-lived, but they are still fresh in my memory. It was the Second Ninja War, and Konoha also encountered similar problems. But it was the Senju clan who rushed to the battlefield at that time. Report. Suddenly, with an excited and anxious shout, a ninja from the messaging class rushed in. Lord Hokage. Great victory on the front line. Third generation's eyes trembled. A great victory. Just listen to this ninja's quick report. The Uchiha clan defeated the Iwagakure ninjas, captured 862 Iwagakure ninjas, and successfully captured 4 tails. 4 tails 5 tails is currently assisting the Uchiha clan of ninjas in extinguishing wildfires. The effect is remarkable. It is expected that the firefighting will be completed within half an hour. Real good news often contains less content than bad news. Because the weight of every word is worth tens of thousands of gold. But the third generation project was not as exciting as the messenger class ninja imagined. Quote. Third generation took a puff of cigarette calmly, but his expression was a little unnatural. This information about the great victory on the front line. Why does it sound so familiar? Silk. Just at this moment, a little white snake crawled in through the window and silently came to the desktop of third generation. Quote. This scene seems more familiar. I will form the seal a little slower this time, you guys have to watch it. Ruahuo slowly put his hands together, fire style how fire dragon. Ode. A fire dragon emerged from the sea of fire and soared into the sky. Boom. The updrafts caused by the high temperature have accumulated enough. Rain clouds, and thunder and lightning are roaring in the sky, but if the fire does not have lightning style, it does not intend to, unicorn. Let all this heavy rain fall. There is no way to fight against the massive mountain fire. Ruahuo looked at the Uchiha next to him, have you learned it? Quote. Most of the Uchiha's faces are complicated. This technique is not that difficult. Most of the Uchiha who came here to observe and learn have already mastered it. Everyone mainly wants to see how Ruahuo streamlines the process of performing magic. But reducing it to a slap is too much. You haven't learned it yet. Ruahuo looked around and continued to pretend, then I'll go slower. Then Ruahuo flattened his arms directly and moved his palms together in super slow motion, as if he was doing radio gymnastics. Snapped. Okay, Ruahuo. Fugaku interrupted in time. Not everyone has the same talent as Ruahuo. Previously, Wakahuo demonstrated 3 types of fire dragon bullets with one slap. Even the original realm peeling technique, copied from Onoki, only used a yin seal. Is this something that ordinary people can learn? All the Uchiha elites were driving 3 Magatama, and Wakahui's chakra flow including the seal movements were not missed for a second, but they just couldn't learn it. Some people even use the same seal to release water style and earth style, which is simply outrageous. It's amazing that you can learn it. Ruahuo's simplified fire style and mutated fire style both come from system buffs, which are reflected in Ruahuo's special physique. In Orochimaru's words, this is a reverse constitution, with blood inheritance limits. It can reverse all escape techniques, and it can also reverse the limits of blood inheritance. Even the blood inheritance cannot avoid the fact that it becomes fire style. Orochimaru calls this constitution bloodstain reversal. It can also be called a more appropriate name, the will body of fire. Chirp. At this time, a loud eagle call sounded from the sky, and the Uchiha all looked up to see a telepathic beast from Konoha hovering in the sky. This psychic eagle comes from the communication class of the Hokage building, and to a large extent it represents the will of the Hokage. The Uchiha didn't dare to neglect, and waited until the psychic eagle fell down, landing on Fugaku's shoulder, and then disappeared into a white smoke, leaving only a small scroll. Fugaku opened the scroll and read it quickly, but immediately after reading it, he looked at Orochimaru. "Thank you for your trouble, Mr. Orochimaru. That's not necessary, Fugaku-kun." Orochimaru waved his hand. "I'm just worried that there will be unnecessary misunderstandings." Fugaku nodded. "Last time Wakahara returned to Konoha with 5 tails, wasn't there a lot of misunderstandings? Then the misunderstanding turned into an accident, and Konoha sacrificed an elder in the accident." Orochimaru reported the situation in detail to the third generation project in advance this time, and marked the precautions. He even explained the settlement of Wakahuo's mission in advance. The third generation project did not misunderstand Orochimaru's meaning this time. Although it was not completely solved, it at least solved the most difficult part. Wakahui. Fugaku looked at Wakahui. Third generation Sama has made arrangements in advance. In order to avoid panic, your 2 companions cannot approach Konoha for the time being. Chief Fugaku. Ruahuo looked serious. "I'm not done yet." Fugaku interrupted the spellcasting and spoke faster, "But Mr. Third Generation has already agreed with your approval. Your partners can temporarily live near Mount Kikyo, and the subsequent defense tasks will be discussed and completed after returning to Konoha." Chief Fugaku. Ruahuo became more serious. "I'm almost done." Fugaku spoke quickly. "Third Generation Lord has said that although he can't approve Mount Kikyo as your private territory, he can report to the daimyo to divide that area as exclusive for tailed beasts." Uchiha Fugaku. Wakahara clapped his hands together. Fugaku and the Uchiha. Ruahuo just used this gesture to demonstrate more than a dozen different fire styles for them. Is he going to take action? Oops, Uchiha's super little genius is going to attack the patriarch. Who to help? Fugaku didn't think that Ruahuo would take action against his own people, so his expression became serious and he made a warning gesture. Only then did the Uchiha react and disappeared one after another, entering a fighting state. At the 2 o'clock direction of Kokuo, about 1,600 meters away from us, there are several ninjas secretly watching us. Ruahuo looked serious. "You are too careless, Chief Fugaku. How could you tell such important information in person?" After saying that, Ruahuo jumped suddenly, and a fire dragon appeared under his feet and immediately rose into the sky. "I'll come back as soon as I go. I can't do this anymore. I can't wipe the butt of Chief Fugaku every time." Ode. The fire dragon galloped away into the distance. Fugaku's face became darker and darker. Finally, he breathed out and noticed Orochimaru's eyes. He shook his head helplessly and smiled. "Funny, Mr. Orochimaru." Orochimaru shook his head. "Wakao-kun has inherited the style of the Konoha Security Department and has always maintained a high level of vigilance. This is a good thing. Stop praising this boy, Mr. Orochimaru." Fugaku looked helpless and said, "This kid can always find some weird things. It's okay if he's not in the village. When he returns to the village, I'm worried about him, huh?" Fugaku suddenly realized something. Orochimaru immediately gave a smile. "You may have guessed it right, Fugaku-kun. Although there are also sentient ninjas in this huge ninja world, except for Wakahui's friends, the only ones who can watch us from such a long distance are probably the only ones from the Hyuga clan." Orochimaru made the point. Fugaku felt his temples twitching. "Excuse me." Fugaku was about to leave immediately, but saw Orochimaru shaking his head and saying, "It's too late, Fugaku-kun. Based on my experience, if you can't catch up with or stop the child before he sets off, then try to use the fastest time to plan a plan. Orochimaru's unhurried tone really made Fugaku stop in his haste. Plan? Fugaku asked doubtfully. Yes, plan. Orochimaru shared his teaching experience, make the best plans and find the right reasons. For example, this time, if Mr. Huo chose to take action after discovering the spy, he might accidentally injure some people during the process. For example, the Konoha ninjas, or the Hyuga clan. These situations are always possible. Fugaku. It seems the Uchiha clan is preparing to retreat. For the record, the fire has been extinguished by Uchiha using fire style, which affected the weather and rain. I have never seen this method of extinguishing fire before. Hey, Captain, do you think that after Uchiha returns to Konoha, will the third generation project also allow them to join the firefighting squad? It's okay if they don't set fire, haha. Ha ha ha. This is a reconnaissance team assembled entirely by Hyuga. After Iwagakure retreated, Konoha's frontline commander against Iwagakure, Nara Shikaku, temporarily mobilized some of the Hyuga clan's reconnaissance troops and temporarily incorporated them into the communications squad in order to restore communications as soon as possible. That kid seems to be flying towards us. This direction, really, has he discovered us? It should be those two-tailed beasts. They have been looking here since just now. They must have discovered us early in the morning. Is the tailed beast's perception so strong? We are close to 2,000 meters away from them, right? This. After all, it is a huge monster. Even if its perception ability is average, its visual nerve is much stronger than that of humans. Uchiha's luck is so good. Now all the tailed beasts in Iwagakure have been captured by them. No wonder those guys are so crazy. At the mention of Iwagakure, the Hyuga team fell silent briefly. The battle last night should be a lingering nightmare for every ninja on the front line. Iwagakure ninjas appeared on the front lines like a tide. The Four Tails Jinchuriki kept firing tailed beast Jade at the front line, and the Konoha ninjas were unable to resist it. After breaking through the defense line, Iwagakure also ignited the fire, blocking the retreat of Konoha ninjas. This is not over yet. The Iwagakure ninjas are going crazy, and under the leadership of Liangsha Wangtu, they continue to destroy Konoha's defense line. The collapsed Konoha ninjas didn't even have a direction to retreat. There were either raging fire or Iwagakure ninjas in all directions. The scene was terrifying. Having captured two-tailed beasts, Uchiha has become more prosperous, but the price has to be borne by the ninjas on the front lines. Hey. That's a bit too much, Shoshin, this is a war, not. Hideta is right. Uchiha has the ability to capture tailed beasts, so he shouldn't let the other ninjas in the village bear the price. But the third generation project should make a decision. At least these two-tailed beasts cannot be owned by Uchiha. The captain is right. Why did that kid fly into the sky? What is he going to do? The three Hyugas looked up to the sky together, and saw the Uchiha kid who had been so popular in the Chunin assessment, flying higher and higher on the fire dragon. Then, the fire dragon suddenly turned around and dived in their direction. What on earth is he doing? Several Hyugas had an ominous premonition in their hearts, but they did not think about the worst for the time being. After all, no matter how hateful Uchiha was, he probably wouldn't dare to attack the ninjas of the same village, right? Maybe. No, he started to mobilize chakra. He's forming seals. Captain, he seems to be attacking us. Calm down. Captain Hyuga shouted coldly, this kid clearly wants to scare us. This must be Uchiha Fugaku's instruction. Keep calm and let them Uchiha see the courage of my Hyuga clan. But Captain, this guy activated ninjutsu. Ode. Fire dragons appeared from the sky, and together with Ruahuo, they launched a bombing dive towards the Hyuga team. So much fire style. Captain, let's retreat. It's all an illusion. Captain Hyuga shouted again, he just wants to see us running away in panic. Don't panic. How much chakra is there in this kid? Didn't you just see it with your white eyes? Those fire styles are just for show, stay calm. The Byakugan of the Hyuga clan can be described as the all-purpose eye when it comes to investigation. Not only can the opponent's chakra meridians, veins, and chakra flow conditions be clearly seen, but the target's chakra amount can also be clearly observed. If the chakra is special, it can even identify people by color. Refer to Ao seeing Danzo activate distinguished heavenly gods, using green light to show eye power in the anime. But Ruahuo's chakra is obviously not that special. The amount of chakra is average, and there is no special color. There is no 4 tails and 5 tails chakra blessing in the body, so he is just a little stronger than his peers, and he belongs to the category of normal children. Captain Hyuga shouted one after another, and the 2 team members also calmed down. Yes, as much chakra as this kid can have, it's just for show. Does he still dare to attack them openly? I really don't hide. I didn't expect the Hyuga clan to be so brave. Ruahuo raised his eyebrows and silently gave these Hyugas a thumbs up. He really has no grudge against Hyuga. If I have to say it, Hyuga beat Obito, and he burned him back at that time, so it counts as a clean slate. Hyuga Hiyashi even gave him a large amount of compensation. But you shouldn't ignore Grandma's pain relief, cataracts. Ode. The fire dragon's killing array attacks with all its strength. The Hyuga clan is very loyal to the 3rd generation. In order to appease Kumogakure's almost unreasonable anger and help the 3rd generation avoid war, the Hyuga clan is even willing to sacrifice the clan leader's younger brother, the head of the branch house. Whether this behavior is cowardice or dedication, Ruahuo doesn't want to judge. He only knows that once Uchiha goes to war with Konoha, Hyuga will definitely be Uchiha's enemy. Isn't this reason enough? Then take into account Grandma's will. The last time I threatened Fugaku with destroying Hyuga, Grandma totally agreed. Destroy Hyuga, this is Grandma's will. Captain, something is wrong with this kid. Let's avoid it first. Don't panic, Captain. It's not too late to retreat now, we must go back and report to the Patriarch. Childish, if you run away in front of Uchiha, what do you think the Patriarch will think of you? Team leader, I don't care. 8 trigrams palms return to heaven. Yo, Ruahuo, who made an emergency stop, was a little surprised. He didn't expect that there was a Hyuga master here who could save the day. The next second, rumble, rumble, rumble. Ruahuo stopped the car, but the fire dragon's killing array did not. This is the fire-style tactic that drove the 5 tails Jinchuriki Han until the tailed beasts went berserk. At the same time, Fugaku not far away, after coordinating with Kushina, selected 3 Iwagakure ninjas from among the Iwagakure prisoners. Then they secretly took them to the woods and executed the 3 of them directly. Fire-style Great Fireball. Ode. The 3 Iwagakure who had no ability to resist were baptized by the fire-style. And these 3 corpses will also become the reason for Ruahuo to take action. Fugaku looked at several Uchiha elites. The Iwagakure ninja raiding force slipped through the net and took 3 Hyuga ninjas hostage. Seeing that the situation was over, they killed the 3 Hyuga ninjas and chose to die together. We have tried our best to save people, but we underestimated Iwagakure's determination. Let's put it this way. Yes, 3 Uchiha elites disappeared. You surprised me, Fugaku-kun. Orochimaru, who participated in the whole process, smiled. I thought you would refuse the offer. Quote. Fugaku crossed his arms over his chest and looked into the distance with complicated eyes. Ruahuo's fire-style bombed that mountain forest, which was one of the few forests that survived the mountain fire. The reason was that Ruahuo arrived early at night and took away the nearby flames. And now, it's burning again. However, Ruahuo had already begun to make amends, and the flame was hung on the powerful fire dragon and sent up to the sky. Boom! There was another thunder. Fugaku breathed out. He turned to look at Orochimaru. Those words such as, "It's all for the stability of the village," "It's just a joke," "Your suggestion has benefited me a lot," etc., were still not uttered after all. Well, thousands of words turned into a sigh, Fugaku said helplessly. It's all for the kids. On the way back, the atmosphere was somewhat strange. Wakahui sat on top of 4 tails, with Orochimaru and Fugaku sitting next to him. A group of Uchiha stood nearby in a maze-like position, ready to fight. A large scroll was placed in front of Ruahuo. Inside were 6 corpses, 3 from Hyuga, and 3 from innocent Iwagakure ninjas. Anyway, you defeated 3 Iwagakure spies with fire style, Fugaku said with a cold tone. It's a pity that you couldn't save 3 Hyugas, but you did your best. Mr. Orochimaru and I will report the specific matters to Mr. Third Generation. After you return to the clan, go to grandma to report that you are safe, and then take a good rest for a while. Do you understand? Quote. Ruahuo nodded. I know. Let me add a little more, Lord Ruahuo. Orochimaru's tone was much gentler than Fugaku's. If the Hyuga clan invites you to attend the funeral, you can simply agree and choose to be absent. Teacher will help you evade it by saying that you are busy with tasks. Destroying Hyuga is not a simple matter. It requires long-term planning and slow preparation. During this period, it is still necessary to paralyze the Hyuga ninja. Quote. Ruahuo opened his mouth, but chose to nod honestly. I understand. Things suddenly got a little out of hand. The original plan was to directly intensify the conflict between Uchiha and Hyuga, preferably in a fight to the death. In this way, Uchiha can arm himself reasonably and show a certain degree of aggression. Two big families compete with each other and compete with each other. This may be what those in power in the third generation want to see most. If Uchiha doesn't care about anything and just keeps developing and arming himself, third generation will become suspicious. Rebellion is not that simple. The third generation project is not a fuel-efficient lamp either. At least he won't be as easy to bully as Onoki. But now, there seems to be a slight change in the situation. Fugaku and Orochimaru. How did they get together? Ruahuo frowned, not quite understanding. Orochimaru has shown goodwill towards Uchiha before. Uchiha can appear on the front line because of Orochimaru's proposal. Although he was quickly recalled, Iwagakure probably won't be able to fight for the time being, so it doesn't matter. This is indeed Orochimaru's goodwill. Apparently, Fugaku also accepted this goodwill and maintained an unclear, cooperative relationship with Orochimaru. God knows when a bunch of Uchiha suddenly appeared and threw the three corpses on the three Hyugas, how many mud horses ran wildly in Ruahuo's heart. Uchiha, when did you become so secretive? Until he saw Orochimaru and Fugaku holding hands and, well, side by side. Orochimaru wants to use Uchiha to gain power. Then Fugaku also plans to fall in love with Orochimaru and become the fourth generation's target Hyuga. Third generation me and Danzo probably wouldn't agree. Tisk. Single quote. Ruahuo didn't want to continue the analysis. Ever since he and Orochimaru left the village for the first time, in just a few days, he basically kept spinning. I have never worked so hard on an overnight charter before. Tired, really tired. Being sleepy is really sleepy. Ruahuo simply used the scroll containing the body as a pillow and lay down like that. I'm not afraid of these guys asking for dreams or anything. A few little miscellaneous fish who don't even deserve names are cannon fodder when they are alive. What can they do even if they turn into ghosts? Is it that his soul blessed by Indra is no longer useful, or is it that the Pure Land of Sage of Six Paths cannot control people? 4 tails, 5 tails. Uchiha like this, Danzo will probably be unable to sit still, right? Ruahuo's eyelids became darker and darker, and his thoughts gradually became hazy and calm. And wait until Ruahuo's breathing gradually stabilized. Fugaku breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Orochimaru, smiled and extended his hand. This child is lucky to have a teacher like Mr. Orochimaru. Orochimaru smiled and held Fugaku's hand. Fugaku-kun is joking, I am lucky to meet such a talented disciple as Ruahuo. Fugaku didn't refute, but just used a little force. Orochimaru kept smiling. The two people's eyes met, and they silently said 4 words to each other, happy cooperation. Although he was very tired, Ruahuo didn't sleep for too long. Mainly because I couldn't sleep well. Every step I took in 4 tails made the earth shake, and with the 5 tails next to it, it was like a 4D version of rock music. But when I woke up, it was already dusk. They came to the foot of a mountain. In addition to Uchiha and the Iwagakure captives, there were also many ninjas gathered here. There were Anbuan ninjas from various major families. It was very lively, but they were all standing far away. You're awake, Indra. 4 tails Wukong's voice appeared in Ruahuo's consciousness. His voice was loud, but his tone was calm. Long time no see, Goku. Ruahuo Kaido. There was no time to properly communicate with 4 tails before, but judging from 4 tails' tone, Kokuo must have told 4 tails all the notes. You are too weak now, Indra, your body is still very young. The sonorous voice of Four Tails rang in Ruahuo's ears. You need time to grow and regain your strength. Kokuo and I will protect you during this time. A very heartwarming speech. By communicating with tailed beasts, you can always gain something that you can't get from humans. Such as sincerity. Ruahuo is a very principled person. As a copycat Indra, he would never be able to live up to the sincerity of the tailed beasts. Thank you then, Goku, Kokuo. I will find the other tailed beasts as soon as possible. The world needs to be reordered. Human beings in this era lack of power. This is wrong. Ruahuo emphasized his position again. The tailed beasts of the Uchiha family must be free, dignified, and equal to humans. Quote. There was a brief silence. The two tailed beasts and Indra both avoided a certain fox in a tacit understanding. How do you plan to restore order, Indra? Five Tails Kokuo broke the silence and took the topic a little deeper. Quote. Ruahuo was silent for half a second. He really hasn't thought about this issue carefully. After all, the most recent goal at this stage is the 5-year development plan, and the biggest goal is to cut down Konoha. As for the Konoha Security Department plan, that's just a plan. Strictly speaking, it's a direction. It belongs to the first page of the PPT, and it is also a combination of whiteboard plus Microsoft Yahoo. But Ruahuo knows that as a leader, he must not hesitate for too long at this time. I have learned a lot since waking up from reincarnation. What the world should become should not be my decision alone. I want to gather everyone together first, take a good look at the world, and finally decide how to re-establish order. Ruahuo paused and added soul to this pie. If this world is really hopeless, then I can only recycle all the chakra in this world. Ruahuo admitted that he was suspected of bragging. But this cow is not too outrageous. To recover chakra, it is said that you need to become 10 Tails Jinchuriki and activate the Eye of the Moon. But this plan is actually a lie made up by Black Zetsu in order to resurrect his mother. However, Ruahuo agrees very much with this point. In Ruahuo's heart, Heiju, who is dedicated to saving his mother, is completely comparable to the gray wolf who protects the red wolf. One is to protect mother, the other is to protect love. They are all manifestations of responsibility. And sense of responsibility is exactly what a man should have most. Ruahuo is very responsible. His dream has always been to make the Konoha Security Department bigger and stronger, and turn it into the Ninja World Security Department, or it can also be the Planet Security Department. Heiju wants to resurrect his mother. He doesn't object, he can even support it. As long as Kagaya can abide by the law after resurrection, does not violate the law, and does not affect public order. Then Ruahuo can even hire Kagaya to become the law enforcement officer of the Ninja World Security Department. Nothing wrong. As for Ruahuo's statement about reclaiming chakra. To recycle chakra, the Eye of the Moon is not necessarily required. Uchiha's Will of Fire can also be recycled. The third generation project accepted Orochimaru's suggestion this time and placed 4 Tails and 5 Tails in Mount Kikyo in advance. After passing the resolution at a high-level meeting in Konoha, the resolution was submitted to the daimyo of the Land of Fire. After all, the entire fire country, including the Konoha ninja village, is the daimyo's land. Before the daimyo makes a decision, 4 Tails and 5 Tails can temporarily reside in the Kikyo mountain area. The defense work is mainly carried out by the Uchiha and Hyuga clans, and the elite ninjas of the major ninja clans take turns on duty, with an action level of S. The location of Mount Kikyo is less than 100 kilometers away from Konoha. It can be the rear of Konoha, or it can be said to be Konoha's natural barrier. This depends on the direction from which the enemy is coming. Ordinarily, it does not exceed the range of the tailed beast Jade. But with so many guarding ninjas, even if the tailed beast tries to charge up its power to launch the tailed beast Jade, it will obviously be interrupted by all its efforts. Wakahuo had no objections to this proposal, but just requested that the name of Mount Kikyo should be changed. From now on, it would be called Tailed Beast House, and other tailed beasts from the ninja world would be welcome to come and stay. This proposal naturally received strong support from third generation. In fact, with Ruahuo's political vision, he clearly understood that this was a delaying tactic for the third generation's purpose. Because if he was a third generation project, he would definitely not let Uchiha have the ownership rights of 4 Tails and 5 Tails. But he won't directly ask for 4 tails and 5 tails and fall out with Uchiha. The best way is to first blur the attributes of 4 tails and 5 tails and stabilize Uchiha. Acquiesce, but do not explicitly tell Uchiha that this is Uchiha's trophy, and do not let Uchiha have separate contact with 4 tails 5 tails. The 3rd generation's garrison at the Tailed Beast home has diluted many ninjas from other ninja clans, which is the best proof. The next step is to strengthen Uchiha's concept of ninja village. First, plant a conceptual trap for Uchiha. Uchiha and Konoha are one. Since it is your Uchiha's thing, it naturally belongs to Konoha. In order to make this trap look tempting enough, 3rd generation did not hesitate to draw a pie for Fugaku in front of Danzo's tombstone. Fugaku. Danzo left a lot of work before his death. These tasks are closely related to Konoha. Although they are a little sensitive, most of them are indispensable things for Konoha. Although you are young, you can manage the Uchiha clan very well. Those children trust you, and Danzo sponsored him before he died. I have submitted an application to the daimyo, and the elder who will become vacant after Danzo's death will be handed over to you from now on. This may be a test for you, but it doesn't matter. Orochimaru will help you on weekdays. If you have anything you don't understand, you can ask me. You are Danzo's chosen successor, I believe you can do it. The cake of 3rd generation was sincere and touching, so fragrant that Fugaku was left with only one voice in his head. Fugaku, you are going to become the elder of Konoha. You are almost an elder, so there is no need to be so clear about the rights to use the tailed beasts, right? He is almost an elder, so when it comes to guarding the tailed beast house, Uchiha must at least avoid suspicion, right? He is about to become the next leader of the root organization. Then this good news should at least be shared with Ruahuo, right? So that afternoon, after Fugaku had a drink with Orochimaru and shared his joy, and received Orochimaru's congratulations and blessings, he came to Wakahiro's house again. Well, Orochimaru came too. Mainly because I'm afraid that Ruahuo will go berserk again. The first time Ruahuo went berserk was a month ago. Because the 3rd generation project rejected Ruahuo's request to complete 100S level missions and settle bonuses for 50S level missions. He only agreed to perform 5S level missions and 10A level missions, and on the grounds of deducting the rent of the Tailed Beast home area, he only settled the bounty of 20 million taels for Ruahuo. Only 1 million taels of it can be handed over to Ruahuo, and the rest will be distributed in installments after the war is over. Then Ruahuo ran away violently, leaving behind the words, "You will regret it." Then he slammed the door and walked out, and used the fire-style original peeling technique to cut out a large piece of the Hokage building that night. 3rd generation was very calm about this and only replied, "Xiao Ruahuo, the total repair cost is 1 million taels. If necessary, you can come back 19 times. From that day on, Wakahara refused to accept any missions from the Hokage building. Orochimaru was very tolerant of this and would rather complete the task independently, write Ruahuo's name on the task resume, and give all the rewards to Ruahuo. Only then did Ruahuo cancel his plan to sneak into the Hokage building to collect mission rewards and interest. The second time Ruahuo went berserk was a week ago. In order to celebrate his younger brother's perfect score in the exam, Ruahuo took his 2 younger brothers to the Tailed Beast's house, and wanted to reward the 2 younger brothers to experience the feeling of riding on the Tailed Beast's head again. As a result, Hyuga Hazashi, the head of the Tailed Beast House garrison at that time, was turned away because he did not have Hokage's approval. This move directly caused Ruahuo to go berserk for the second time. Even though Orochimaru had brought Fugaku and Kushina to stop Wakaki in time, all the Hyuga clan members in the garrison, including Hyuga Hazashi, were hospitalized. Hyuga Hiyashi, the leader of the Hyuga clan, expressed solemn protest over this matter in the Hokage office. Hyuga Hiyashi believes that Ruahua's lack of discipline is very dangerous and irresponsible. Uchiha Fugaku and Orochimaru, as the clan leaders and teachers of Wakahui, must bear the main responsibilities. In this regard, Uchiha Fugaku said that it was useless to talk more, and proposed to decide the right to speak in a ninja way, and the location was determined by the Hyuga clan, and Uchiha promised not to allow tailed beasts to participate. The head of the Hyuga family said that the Uchiha family's remarks may not be suitable for continuing to be in charge of the Konoha security department. In the end, the third generation project was responsible for mediation. The result of the mediation was that the Uchiha family needed to pay a certain amount of medical expenses, but the expenses could be deducted from Wakaki's remuneration. Uchiha Fugaku objected, but was called to the tombstone of Elder Danzo by the third generation. Only then did Fugaku realize that he was going to become the youngest elder in Konoha. This news is too shocking. Fugaku thought of looking for Orochimaru, and thought of looking for Wakahuo. I just forgot, I should at least ask the specific time when the order was transferred. And now, they arrived in front of Ruahuo's house. Fugaku's drinking capacity is average. After having 2 drinks with Orochimaru, I was already a little tipsy. He was about to knock on the door, but was stopped by Orochimaru. Orochimaru shook his head and pointed at the door, indicating to listen to what was going on inside first. Who else was involved in this matter? This was Ruahuo's voice, very stern. It's just me and Shisui, there's no one else. This was Obito's voice, obviously being scolded. Ruahuo raised his voice. It's really gone, brother. Obito's voice sounded a little crying. Asuma also wanted to participate, but I didn't agree. Bang. Slaps the table. Stupid. Ruahuo shouted coldly. Plop. Kneel down on your knees. Orochimaru looked surprised. Wakahara-kun's younger brother, what's going on? He and Fugaku looked at each other, only to find that Fugaku was also a little surprised, but perhaps it was due to the previous excitement, or a little confusion in the slightly tipsy state. Fugaku soon smiled confidently and said, "This little brat is pretending to be an adult here again. Let's go, Orochimaru-kun, and teach this little brat how to be an adult, haha." Orochimaru frowned. Fugaku-kun, you may be drunk. Facing Ruahuo in this state is not a rational thing. Hi. Fugaku waved his hand indifferently. I'm so happy. Don't Orochimaru-kun not want to see this kid's expression when he waits? Orochimaru smiled and said nothing, no longer trying to stop him. Dong dong. Fugaku walked forward and knocked on the door. Coming. It was a childish voice, followed by brisk footsteps. Just by hearing the footsteps, you can imagine a little boy running barefoot in the corridor. Sure enough, a boy with natural curly hair opened the door. Chief Fugaku. Shisui blinked in a cute manner, and saw Orochimaru not far away through the gap beside Fugaku. He frowned slightly, and quickly bowed, Orochimaru-sama. Orochimaru showed a flash of interest and nodded in return. It's Shisui-chan, no need to be polite, Wakahan-chan is teaching little Obito a lesson. Fugaku asked jokingly. Little Shisui didn't answer the question, but turned sideways. Clan Chief Fugaku, please come in. Lord Orochimaru, please come in. Okay, Grandma is at home. Fugaku asked again. Yes, Shisui answered this time and looked in the direction of the main hall. Fugaku and Orochimaru changed their shoes at the entrance and then walked to the main hall. Grandma is sitting in the main seat, holding a cane with both hands. Obito is kneeling in front of Grandma, and Ruahuo next to him has his hands folded on his chest with a stern face. But the two of them were not the only ones visiting the Ruahuo family today. There was also a middle-aged ninja wearing a green vest. Fugaku looked familiar, but he couldn't remember it for a while. On the other hand, Orochimaru saluted his grandmother first. Hello, senior. Lord Orochimaru, Lord Fugaku, I didn't expect to see you two here. The middle-aged ninja stood up and said hello. Oki-chunin, long time no see. Orochimaru responded with a smile. The guest of Wakahui's house is Omu, Wakahui's former homeroom teacher and now Obito, Shisui's homeroom teacher. Fugaku then thought of this chunin, but out of etiquette, he still looked at his grandma, senior, Wakahuo-kun and Obito-kun. Grandma glanced at Fugaku, her nose twitched slightly, she frowned, but said nothing. Ruahuo also frowned and glanced at Fugaku, without saying anything, and his eyes returned to the aggrieved Obito. Orochimaru raised his eyebrows, lowered his head slightly, his presence plummeted, and he entered in place stealth mode. No one responded to Fugaku, and the atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Fugaku sobered up most of his wine immediately. It was teacher Omu who hurriedly came out to smooth things over. OMU had also visited many students of important people's homes and was a teacher who had seen big scenes. Let me tell you, it's little Obito. This, little Obito often skipped school some time ago. He even asked his younger brother, little Shisui, to use transformation skills to replace school and exams, and he even got perfect marks. Da Mukchiang said with a smile, this kid is also naughty. He just asked for a proxy to take the exam. Later, he also expanded a series of proxy exam and cheating services in the school. The key is that he accepted exams from the 1st grade to the 6th grade, which led to the sudden appearance of big students in the school. The chaos of a wide range of poor students getting high marks. Quote. Teacher OMU paused as he spoke, with a strange expression. There was actually a more serious accident later, but Damu was a little hesitant to continue talking about it. After all, he was only here for a home visit, but the child's head of family was here. There were some things that Obito's grandmother wouldn't say, and it was not convenient for him as a teacher to say them. That's really naughty, little Obito. Fugaku quickly answered. He now regretted why he didn't wait for the alcohol to dissipate before coming to see Ruahuo. The key is that he didn't drink much. But having said that, has little Shisui mastered the transformation technique? It seems that he has been practicing hard during this period, ha. As soon as Fugaku opened his mouth, he saw Ruahuo staring over with cold eyes. His little eyes were quite sharp. Grandma also glanced at him briefly and shook her head. Fugaku was completely sober now. Not only that, he also broke out in 2 drops of cold sweat for no apparent reason. Obito, tell me where you went wrong. Ruahuo withdrew his gaze from Fugaku and looked at Obito. Quote. Obito pouted, feeling aggrieved and crying. I shouldn't have asked Shisui to teach for me. Continue. I shouldn't have let Shisui take the exam for me, nor should I have taken the exam for other people and collected their money. Continue. Obito pursed his lips. I shouldn't be selling detonating charms in the school and tricking them into blowing up the school. Fugaku's eyes widened suddenly. What the hell? What did he hear? Selling detonating charms, and blowing up schools. Little Obito, you, Chief Fugaku. Ruahuo glared at Fugaku and shouted. I am educating my brother, if you have nothing to do, just shut up. Ruahuo directly showed the 3 Magatama. At this moment, Fugaku actually felt an amazing pressure on this kid. What a strong eye power. This kid's eyes have become stronger again. Fugaku was filled with shock, and for a moment he ignored the fact that he was scolded. However, Ruahuo didn't pay much attention to Fugaku. San Magatama locked Obito again and shouted again, stupid. Look at the clan crest on your body, you are an Uchiha. You and Shisui cheated to get perfect scores based on your ability, collected money based on your ability, and tricked others into buying detonating charms based on your ability. What's wrong with you? Damu, who was surprised just a second ago that Ruahuo even dared to reprimand the clan leader, straightened up when he heard these words. What did he hear? Your fault is that you didn't make a detailed plan, which led to the plan being exposed and your brother was implicated. Wakahui continued to scold. Why don't you let Sarutobi Asuma participate? He is the son of Hokage, isn't it just right to take risks? You gave up just for a small profit. Shisui, what are you doing kneeling down again? Ruahuo looked aside. Little Shisui suddenly knelt down, his little face full of seriousness. It's my assessment of things that went wrong, brother. Young Shisui reflected. Obito-san had agreed at the time, but I felt that involving the son of Hokage might escalate the nature of the overall incident, so I rejected him. Who knew that this guy would turn around and report to Teacher OMU? Little Shisui was very upset. Teacher OMU was devastated. Fugaku is a little doubtful about life. Orochimaru remained invisible, but the interest in his eyes was so intense that he could hardly contain it. I thought Ruahuo's will of fire was already hot enough. Unexpectedly, his 2 younger brothers were also so strange. Okay, don't go to this school in the future. Ruahuo waved his hand, but looked at Fugaku. Graduate directly, and I will personally be your instructor ninja from now on. Teacher OMU feels that his teaching career has ushered in a hellish challenge. He thought that after Ruahuo graduated early, the class would return to normal. And so it is. Wakahui's younger brother Obito was not as outstanding as his older brother at first. My grades were very poor, but I quickly adjusted and became a good student who studied hard. My grades suddenly went from the bottom to the edge of the passing line, then from the passing line to above average, and recently I even got a perfect score. Teacher Oki originally thought that Obito would be a good student as good as his brother, but with a more stable personality. But I didn't expect that everything was an illusion. It wasn't until today that he discovered that Obito didn't come to class at all. The person sitting in his seat every day is actually a shadow clone, and it's also his brother's shadow clone. The key point is that the two brothers were still misbehaving in the school. First, they got the school's test score sheets from nowhere, and then found those poor students who came from well-off families but had average grades. It's not about helping make up lessons, but providing full score service. According to Obito's active explanation, their service content is roughly as follows. Obito, Shisui will use the shadow clone technique to enter the examination room before the exam, get the answer as quickly as possible, then excuse himself to go to the toilet, and then write the answer on a piece of paper. One answer sells for 2,000 taels. And this is just the beginning. This is not the main purpose of his home visit today at all. The two brothers have more than just this business at school. According to the report, the two men were also secretly inciting other students, saying, if you blow up the school, you will have more vacations, and then started selling detonating charms. The price was 200 taels cheaper than on the market. God knows how many brain cells he used to digest the matter when Asuma, the son of the Hokage in his class, reported it to him. Fortunately, the two brothers' detonating talisman business plan has just started not long ago. Otherwise one day the ninja school will really be bombed. Teacher Omu didn't dare to think about it. I immediately went to the house to find out what was going on, but happened to see two little guys practicing shuriken throwing with their elder brother in the yard. Don't look at how harsh Ruahuo was when he taught his two younger brothers a lesson for his grandma. Now it seems, you guys are the mastermind behind this. Listen to what you said. What does cheating based on strength mean? What does it mean to fool others into buying explosive talismans based on strength? You have graduated. Why do you still bully honest people? Teacher Omu roared crazily in his heart, but his face didn't show it at all. As a class teacher, he must be responsible for the occurrence of such malignant incidents on campus, but now is obviously not the time to determine responsibility. Thank you for your hard work, Teacher Omu. Orochimaru lifted his invisibility and stood up. Things may be a bit dangerous. Did Mr. Omu find out which children bought the detonating charm? Not yet, Damu said with some embarrassment. I thought I would come and understand the situation first and see if I can get a purchase list for this child. Ogi looked at Shisui. Judging from the brief contact, this little guy who is not yet old enough to go to school obviously plays a more important role in this case than Obito. It's a bit scary. If Obito didn't take the initiative to explain, Damu wouldn't even know this little guy. And this little guy has at least taken Obito's classes for 3 months and met with him for 3 months. Is that so? Orochimaru pondered for a moment, then smiled slightly. Then you might as well leave this aspect of work to me first, Mr. Oki. I will get the list as soon as possible and report the situation to Mr. Hokage. That's best. Damu immediately looked at Grandma, Senior and Junior. I'll leave first. Well, Grandma nodded. Little Shisui, go and see the teacher. Uki bowed to Fugaku and Orochimaru respectively, and then came to the entrance with Shisui, the real student, bidding him farewell. Before leaving, Teacher Omu hesitated to speak. Shisui bowed deeply. I'm sorry to trouble you, teacher. Teacher Omu still didn't ask about the detonating charm purchase list, after all. The students who had taught him for almost a whole semester suddenly changed their identities, and it always felt a bit awkward. Teacher Omu left in a hurry. Fugaku had also completely sobered up from his wine, sobered up completely. Orochimaru was no longer invisible and looked at Ruahuo with a smile, saying nothing. Ruahuo shook his head. It's impossible for my brothers to betray customer information, teacher. You should know that our Uchiha clan has our own professional ethics. We are the most disciplined clan in Konoha and even the ninja world. Well, Grandma nodded in agreement. Quote. The patriarch Fugaku chose to remain silent. Of course, the smile on Orochimaru's face remained, I have no doubt about this. Uchiha has always been the most reliable ninja in Konoha. This is common sense that every Konoha ninja knows. But I still want to issue a mission request to Ruahuo-kun in my own name. It is probably that some students from the ninja school purchased detonating symbols from unknown sources, and they are suspected of wanting to blow up the ninja school. Ruahuo-kun, can you help me investigate? Orochimaru smiled and stretched out a finger. The mission reward is 100,000 taels, but it will not be included in the mission resume. Ruahuo pursed his lips, thought carefully, and asked. Is there a time limit for the task? I can recommend 2 suitable candidates for the teacher, but they haven't graduated yet, so they may have to wait for 2 days. Wakaka-kun can make his own decision. Orochimaru smiled. 100,000 taels is really not expensive. No problem. Ruahuo nodded in agreement. Quote. Fugaku felt a little embarrassed and hesitated to say anything. Grandma suddenly looked at Fugaku and said in a calm tone, Little Fugaku, why are you here today? Fugaku now regrets the 2 glasses of wine he drank. Why can't he keep his mouth shut? This occasion was obviously not the time to talk about this, but since Senior asked, Fugaku could only bite the bullet. Kaido, that's it, Senior. After Elder Danzo committed suicide and apologized, there was a vacancy among the elders in Konoha. The 3rd generation project has proposed to the daimyo that the junior should fill the vacancy. This may be the point where Uchiha is closest to the Hokage. The junior is thinking. Quote. Fugaku spoke very quickly, but his voice became quieter and quieter, because he found that the expressions of Ruahuo and Grandma both turned gloomy. Little Fugaku, you may have forgotten something, but also, you are that guy's descendant, so it is normal to have this idea. Grandma's voice was very calm, but it had an inexplicable meaning. Disdainful, disappointed, Fugaku frowned slightly, he didn't like this feeling very much. Shao Ruahuo. Grandma looked away, shook her head and said, tell him when was the closest Uchiha to Hokage. Obito, tell me. Ruahuo locked Fugaku with his 3 magatama and said coldly. Kneeling on the ground, Obito, who had been aggrieved just now, immediately puffed up his chest, sniffed, and said loudly, it was when Konoha was first established, brother. Fugaku's expression suddenly changed. Shisui. Wakaka increased his volume. I'm here, brother. Tell him. Who founded Konoha? Ruahuo shouted loudly. It was founded by Senju and Uchiha. Big brother. Shisui's chest also stood out. Quote. Fugaku frowned, his expression condensed and serious. The responses of the 3 little guys did make him feel a little angry, but Fugaku felt more regretful at this moment. He, indeed, said the wrong thing, 1 less sentence. Not bad. Grandma nodded slowly. Although our patriarch has forgotten something, as long as the children can remember, there is still hope for Uchiha's future. Don't worry, Grandma. Ruahuo crossed his arms across his chest and stared at Fugaku coldly. This elder of Konoha will soon no longer be the leader of Uchiha. Fugaku's trip started with Wei Shuan entering the house and ended with Wei Wei leaving. Orochimaru maintained courtesy and left the Wakahui family with Fugaku after saying goodbye. Fugaku was walking ahead with a gloomy face. At an intersection, Orochimaru stopped and said to Fugaku's back. Fugaku-kun, Wakahuo-kun has made a promise in front of Grandma. You should know what this means. Fugaku stopped, exhaled slightly, hesitated for a moment, turned to look at Orochimaru, and showed a wry smile. I knew this day would come sooner or later, but I never thought it would be so soon, nor would I think it would be in this form and for this reason. Yes, the child has made a promise in front of Grandma, and it is obvious what will happen next. I really didn't expect it to be like this. Ruahuo's grandma is indeed a senior from another era who has lived to this day, and she did give him a blow today. Glorious Uchiha, when did he become complacent just because he was an elder of Konoha? As the leader of the clan. It's really embarrassing. Fugaku is not a stubborn person and is good at introspection. What he says and does today is indeed not worthy of the status of a clan leader. He wasn't like this before. Just because Lord Third Generation promised him the position of an elder. You are really worthless, Fugaku. I suggest you prepare well, Fugaku-kun. Orochimaru smiled and reminded, this child may be beyond your imagination. You were wrong, Orochimaru-kun. Fugaku shook his head and said seriously, I have never dared to have any inherent opinions about this child. In fact, I have always believed that the heights this child can reach in the future will definitely exceed my knowledge. Although I have only succeeded him not long ago, in my eyes, this child will become the next leader of the Uchiha clan sooner or later. Orochimaru raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. But I can't leave Uchiha in the hands of such a child right now. Fugaku paused, thinking of something, and smiled, but his eyes became firm. If this is really the case, then I would be too irresponsible. Brother, this is the roster. Those who have paid are marked with a check mark. Those who have only paid a deposit are circled. Those with question marks are potential leaks. Shisui took out an exercise book, which contained the roster of the leaks in the ninja school. Very good. Ruahuo took a quick look and found that there were quite a few potential leaks. The students of ninja school were really not short of money. After taking 2 monthly exams and selling, detonating charms for blowing up the school, Obito and Shisui have already made hundreds of thousands of taels from the ninja school. In this way, Obito will go to the school again in the afternoon and try to cut all the leaks. I will help you to apply for early graduation tomorrow and scare these leaks by the way. I understand, brother. Obito nodded. Brother, can I also apply for early graduation? Shisui asked doubtfully. I don't seem to have enrolled yet. Just go through the admission procedures in the afternoon, don't delay. Ruahuo waved his hand indifferently, you guys can't stay in the ninja school anyway. If you want to make more money, you can only think of other ways. I'll go to the Hokage building in the afternoon, take care of these 2 things together, and apply to be your mentor ninja. 3rd generation still owes me money, and he cannot refuse the creditor's reasonable request. What matters in early graduation is strength, not school age. After Obito has gone through 4 years of training, plus more than a month of special training, there will definitely be no problem in graduating early. As for the youngest Shisui, let's put it this way, if Obito can graduate, then Shisui can definitely do it too. Their talents are not the same concept at all. Hurry up and become a ninja, and Ruahuo Yahao will take these 2 little ones to the battlefield. The speed at which the 2 of them opened their eyes directly determined the progress of completing his S-class family mission. But before that, Ruahuo still has one important thing to complete. It took a month to lay the groundwork and a month to prepare. It's time to close the net. He slashed the Hokage building and found the right opportunity to, reasonably, beat up Hyuga Hisashi. Although Hyuga Hisashi is the only brother in the ninja world who broke the Brokan principle of the ninja world, in order to help the 3rd generation to calm down Kumogakure's anger, he even watched his brother commit suicide as an apology, which is simply outrageous. But the Hyuga clan is still very powerful within Konoha. For the sake of his younger brother, Hyuga Hisashi challenged Fugaku. With the previous foreshadowing, Fugaku also directly went back. 3rd generation really can't sit still. For the sake of Pua Fugaku, I even dare to draw a big cake like the elder. Ruahuo can guarantee that the elder appointment letter that Fugaku has been thinking about may never appear in this life. Whether or not it was submitted to the Fire Nation daimyo is the same thing. Brother, when do you plan to challenge the Fugaku clan leader? Obito asked, somewhat excited. The eldest brother will soon become the leader of the Uchiha clan. Ruahuo smiled and rubbed Obito's spiky head. Don't worry, let's finish your matters first. Brother Obito, there is the Uchiha clan meeting in 3 days. The eldest brother should challenge the Fugaku clan leader at that time. Little Shisui said calmly, that's the best time. Smart. Ruahuo also rubbed Shisui's curly hair. Defeating Fugaku is not difficult, it's just a matter of how much strength you plan to show. Fugaku doesn't have the strength of Mangekyo now, at most he is an elite Jonin. He had done the evaluation when he first passed the Chunin exam. At that time, he didn't have 4 tails and 5 tails. He could be invincible just by flying fire dragon bullets in the sky. And now even if 4 tails and 5 tails are not allowed to participate in the battle, or even if they give up their ability to fly, he is not afraid of Fugaku. But challenging Fugaku and challenging the clan leader, these are actually 2 different things. Not only does he want to defeat Fugaku, he also wants to make all Uchiha willingly call him patriarch. Then let's give Uchiha a little shock at the clan meeting in 3 days. Ruahuo looked through the window into the distance. That is the direction of Hokage Rock, the direction of Hokage in the past. There is the brightest place in Konoha, and it also hides the darkest side of Konoha. The big pillar must not have thought of all this when he founded Konoha. But Uchiha Madara thought of it, and second generation Mitoburama also thought of it. These two talents are more suitable candidates to become Hokage. One can burn everything with flames and is not afraid of all darkness. One is to use darkness as a tool and let light and darkness coexist. What a coincidence. He can do both. After more than a month of preparation, his sunshine image should have been almost covered. Although he was not personally certified by Danzo Elder, he should now have dark qualities. He will soon become the leader of the Uchiha clan. Why don't you open a pair of Mangekyo to celebrate? After lunch, the 3 CBD brothers split up. Obito and Shisui went to the ninja school to cut leaks, while Wakaki went straight to the Hokage building. If Huo is not in a hurry, the clan meeting will be 3 days later at night, which means there are still 4 days left. If he can successfully join Anbu, he will be able to have a 4-year Anbu career. Of course, it doesn't matter if you can't join. He also has Plan B, root organization. Although as far as the current situation is concerned, whether Anbu or the root organization, they need the consent of the third generation project to join. But the nature of the two organizations is different. The steps and methods of joining are also different. Anyway, Ruahuo is fully prepared. Whether it's Anbu's mask or the mask at the base, he must wear it today. Attention all units. The target has entered the warning range, only 1,200 meters away from the Hokage building. Hokage building. The Hokage Anbu escort team on duty today is in charge of Jonin, codename Light. Captain Guang held a telescope and locked onto the highly dangerous figure. He stopped. Did he want to buy takoyaki? No, he is asking the boss to close the stall. Captain Light watched carefully. I saw the kid in the telescope take out a small notebook from his pocket, and then took out a pen and scribbled on it without knowing what he wrote. The boss suddenly felt like he was facing a formidable enemy. He took out 2 portions of already baked takoyaki and stuffed them into the kid's hands. But the kid was unmoved, and finally tore a page out of the notebook and put it in the boss's hands. The boss suddenly turned pale, silently returned to the stall and packed up his things. He actually planned to close the stall directly. Captain Hikaru could clearly see that this kid seemed to have said, "Go to the Konoha security department to pay a fine." Quote. Captain Guang looked strange and turned to look at his subordinates. Has Mr. Hokage introduced any new policies recently? Why does the Konoha security department even have to control small vendors now? Probably not, Captain. The subordinate thought for a moment and shook his head. Captain, he's walking to Hokage Street. Huh. Captain Guang quickly picked up the telescope and looked, and sure enough. Hokage Street is a spacious road facing the Hokage building, with a total length of 997 meters. When you walk halfway, you can see the entire Hokage building. It seems that this kid is really coming to the Hokage building. The first team is following me, and the others are responsible for guarding. Captain Guang gave the order and led his men to attack quickly. Twice. Despite his young age, this kid looks quite likable. But this kid is the only guy in the ninja world who has attacked the Hokage building twice since the founding of Konoha. Twice. And he was on duty on the day of these 2 attacks. Whoosh whoosh. Captain Light and a 3-man Anbu team attacked quickly. And at the same time. Hokage office. Did this kid really say that? Third generation stared at Ruahuo's figure in the crystal ball, and Anbu approaching Ruahuo one by one, and his expression gradually became weird. Is he really planning to challenge Fugaku? I was right next to you, teacher. Orochimaru shared what he saw and heard with his teacher. Wakao-kun made the promise in front of Grandma, and he will never let Grandma down. That's not the case. Third generation still didn't believe it at the moment. Is it possible that it is a target of a child? This child is only so old. If you don't borrow the power of the tailed beast, Fugaku can't lose to Kawaka on purpose, right? Orochimaru smiled and didn't say anything in reply. Whether it is now or before. What does grandma mean to Ruahuo? Just because he didn't want to disappoint his grandma, Wakahara dared to charge against the third Tsuchikage and the main force of Iwagakure. This time he made a promise in front of his grandma. To be honest, Orochimaru wouldn't be surprised even if Ruawa immediately attacked Fugaku. Certainly, some of the words were too sensitive, so Orochimaru naturally forgot them temporarily when he reported them. Because of these selfish, human errors, the teacher may have a vague understanding of some of Ruahuo-kun's inner qualities. It is normal to make some wrong judgments. So, what's your opinion, Orochimaru? Third generation looked away from the crystal ball and came to Orochimaru, smoking a cigarette, and asked without much seriousness. My suggestion is to try to agree to any request this child makes after 1 minute, teacher. Orochimaru looked out the window. This child's situation is very special. Aside from his talent, this child does symbolize Uchiha's future. Before I arrived, Fugaku-kun had already admitted it himself. This child will become the leader of the Uchiha clan sooner or later. Outside the window, Ruahuo could be seen confronting several Anbu from a distance. But Ruahuo obviously has no patience. With all due respect, teacher. Orochimaru's eyes returned to the teacher. You previously deducted the reward that this child deserved, and your image in this child's heart has dropped a lot. Ahem. Third generation choked, but I can't agree to his settlement request for 50 S-class missions, can I? Even for the most basic S-level mission, the bounty before tax is still 1 million taels, not to mention that Ruahuo requires 50 advanced S-level missions. According to Ruahuo's calculations, Konoha would have to pay him at least 300 million taels in remuneration. How can this be? I'm just stating objective facts, teacher. Orochimaru didn't intend to argue the issue. Anyway, your relationship with this kid isn't very good right now, that's a fact. And now, may be the best time to repair this relationship. Orochimaru paused and looked out the window. Teacher, you have 20 seconds to make a decision. Third generation was stunned for a moment and instinctively looked at the crystal ball, only to find that Ruahuo had disappeared, leaving only 4 Anbu standing there in a daze. Genjutsu. Third generation was shocked. At this time, Orochimaru had already thoughtfully opened the window. Ode. The fire dragon suddenly shot up into the sky, and Wakahuo broke away from his fire style, entered Hokage's office directly through the window, and jumped directly on the desk. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A man named Anbu appeared immediately, as if facing a formidable enemy. Orochimaru immediately waved his hand, and all the Anbu disappeared again. Ruahuo said with a cold face, Third generation, I came here today to tell you something. Inform. Third generation raised an eyebrow. This little brat has quite a temper. Although this kid was a pain in the ass in the past, he was still quite cute as long as he didn't cause any trouble. Now, tisk, it seems Orochimaru is right. Grandpa Hokage, you have to coax this little guy. Next to him, Orochimaru's heart beat slightly faster. Tell me, this tone, this state, is terrible. Orochimaru realized one thing. He seemed like he shouldn't have left with Fugaku. I figured it out, Ruahuo said with a serious face. For Kokuo and Goku, the tailed beast house is actually a bigger cage. Not only does it have no freedom, but the rent is still so expensive. Even when I go to visit them, I have to be stopped by a group of Hyuga rats. I have never been so angry since I was a child. Because they wear Konoha's forehead protectors, I have never dared to be cruel. After I returned, my grandma was so angry that she ignored me for 3 days, saying that the will of fire in me was no longer as strong as that of the Fugaku clan leader. Ruahuo said, suddenly pulled off his forehead protector, slammed it on the table, and stared at the third generation eyes coldly. I want to resign, and I want to take 4 tails and 5 tails back to my will of fire. Third generation, please settle the remaining rent and remuneration to me. I won't do this job as a Konoha ninja. Boom. When third generation was 30 years old, the pipe his wife Bawako gave him was broken after all. Resign, resign. Before third generation could react, he ignored his pipe and asked cautiously. Xiao Ruahuo, Grandpa didn't hear clearly, you just said. Ruahuo took a deep breath. I'm going to resign. If Huo shouted loudly, his voice could be heard clearly from 3 streets away. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The already nervous Anbu rushed in after hearing this roar, but they were immediately shocked by Orochimaru's unparalleled aura. Go out. This may be the first time Orochimaru has lost his temper in front of a teacher since he planned to run for the 4th generation project. But obviously this temper is not irritating. Of course, it is impossible to target the 3rd generation project. Seeing the essence through the phenomenon, Orochimaru just doesn't want to be disturbed when he is thinking quickly. Resign. Rediscover the will of fire with 4 tails and 5 tails. What about Grandma's promise? This kid doesn't plan to challenge Fugaku. No. This kid didn't even fear the 3rd Tsuchikage and so many Iwagakure ninjas in order not to disappoint his grandma. Orochimaru's brain goes into overclocking mode and he has to figure out what he's missing. If Huo will fulfill his promise to grandma, he will definitely challenge Fugaku, right? That's right, even without Jonin's will of fire, this child will, The will of fire. Grandmother. Orochimaru's eyes suddenly lit up. The information in his mind was automatically arranged and combined to form a door of answers. Orochimaru tried hard to push the door open, and found that standing behind the door was Ruahuo's grandma. Quote. 3rd generation glanced at its students with a somewhat resentful look. So, this is what you told me, try your best to comply with this child's request. Ahem. 3rd generation cleared its throat and called for support to its students. At the same time, he also tried to avoid it by bending down to pick up the pipe, but found that the pipe was broken. Quote. 3rd generation hesitated for a moment, then picked it up, put it on the table, and then took out a new pipe and tobacco box from the drawer, slowly placing the tobacco leaves. After many years of political career, 3rd generation now knows that in times like this, it is more important for him to remain calm in the face of danger. After stuffing the tobacco into the pipe, 3rd generation was about to light it, but he felt Ruohuo's burning eyes and couldn't help but look over. Quote. Quote. The moment I saw the 3 Magatama in Ruahuo's eyes, the first reaction in 3rd generation's mind was that a very familiar face appeared. So similar. This look is exactly the same as Danzo's that night. Quote. Grandpa doesn't smoke anymore, I'm sorry. 3rd generation decisively gave up on lighting the fire and put the new pipe on the table. Then let's talk about refunding the rent. Ruakao said coldly. In the past month, I have had a thorough understanding of Konoha's rules for assessing wartime merit, and based on the rules, I substituted my performance and calculated my battle merit. Ruahuo took out a small note from his pocket and slapped it heavily on the desk. On it are clearly listed one after another, war exploits, and due rewards. With the help of my partners and sister Kushina, I defeated the Iwagakure troops twice, causing at least 5,000 casualties. Destroying 100 Iwagakure ninjas can be regarded as an S-level mission. I ask for a reward of 50 S-level missions, which is not much. I also defeated the 3rd Tsuchikage and caused immeasurable damage to Iwagakure village. The number of prisoners I brought back alone is 859. Even if we calculate according to Genin, at 100,000 taels per person, there should be a reward of at least 90 million taels. Ruahuo took out another small piece of paper and after spreading it out, it was a combat merits transfer agreement. Sister Kushina has agreed to transfer her share of the war merit bounty to me as my birthday gift. It also has her fingerprint on it. You can verify it. With that said, Ruahuo took out a 3rd small note. This is the confession of the craftsmen who were responsible for repairing the Hokage building after I destroyed it that day. The Hokage building obviously only paid them 200,000 taels in repair costs, but you deducted a full 1 million taels from me. And I also learned that even if we renovate the Hokage building, or even build a new Hokage building, even including the most exquisite decoration costs, it will only cost 30 million taels at most. This is their confession, and it is also signed. 3 pieces of paper were slapped in front of 3rd generation. Both of them were signed and stamped. 3rd generation's expression immediately darkened. At this time, Ruahuo took out the 4th small note. This is the result of the land rent survey I solicited from all families within Konoha, including the Nara clan, the Akamaiki clan, and the Hitaki clan, who own territory no less than the Tailed Beast House. Among them, the land rent for most branch house clans is only 10 million taels a year, and some are even less than 5 million taels. They can also apply for subsidies from Konoha. And the owner of the Hitaki family, Uncle White Fang, doesn't even need to pay rent and claims he can rent it to me for free. Ruahuo crossed his arms and said, "Third generation, I am notifying you now as a creditor. In view of your private deduction of my military exploits, your extortion for house repairs, and your unfair judgment on the conflict between me and the Hyuga rat, I, Uchiha Wakahu, unilaterally propose to you to terminate the territory lease agreement of the Tailed Beast House and submit my resignation to you. From today on, I voluntarily give up my identity as a Konoha ninja and ask you to immediately return my battle reward, which totals 490.8 million taels after deducting normal expenses." Hiss. Call. Third generation still couldn't help but smoke. The 4 pieces of paper were placed in front of him, forming a bounty of nearly 500 million taels. The third generation looked at Orochimaru seriously. "So, kid, please tell me seriously. How should I agree to this bounty of nearly 500 million taels? What promise can I make?" Orochimaru didn't look at the teacher. Compared with the melancholy and helplessness of third generation, Orochimaru's face has returned to elegance and calmness, with a bit of enlightenment. "Reasonable price, Lord Ruahuo." Orochimaru smiled and said, "But I think the main purpose of your coming here today is not to ask for payment, right? You are a kind child. You won't embarrass Grandpa Hokage and ask him to spend such a large sum of money during this special period, right?" Orochimaru is calm. Third generation was surprised. He turned to look at Ruahuo, only to see Ruahuo nodding his head upright. "Indeed, I have other purposes besides resigning today." Wakahuo looked at the third generation with a serious look on his face and said, "I want to inherit Danzo-sama's will and step into the darkness with the purest will of fire, just to clear out the rats hiding in the darkness." Ruahuo took out the 5th small note. "This is Uncle White Fang's declaration of voluntarily giving up the heir apparent, and it is signed by him. Third generation project. I will use my military exploits, a total of 490,800,000 taels, to purchase the entire root tissue from you. You can think of this as a commissioned mission. I, Uchiha Wakahu, will become the leader of the root organization." Call. Orochimaru exhaled softly. He knew that there was no way this child would disappoint Grandma. Give up being a ninja. Give up Chunin, or even Jonin's will of fire. No, this kid just has a new pursuit. Elder Danzo's will of fire. Orochimaru looked at the teacher with a smile. "Next, it's your turn to express your opinion, teacher. It turns out that Xiao Ruahuo plans to buy the entire root tissue." The tense atmosphere suddenly calmed down. Ruahuo's rage crisis does not exist. It turns out that everything is a farce. The third generation gave Orochimaru a comprehensive look, turned around and looked at Ruahuo, who had a serious look on his face, trying not to laugh and looking embarrassed. "This little guy. This is the original purpose of starting such a big battle, resigning and settling accounts. Root tissue. Danzo. Haha. Danzo's image in this child's mind is really. It's hard to describe in one word. It can only be said that Danzo's choice was too timely. When he breaks, and retreats to advance, which prevents a crisis from breaking out, gives him more room for operation, and leaves this child with a bright image. Yes, although I don't know how this child discovered it, the will of fire in Danzo's heart has always been extremely strong and endless. Although this old guy acted a bit extreme, he had no hesitation in choosing to sacrifice everything for Konoha. As the kid said, there is light in the heart, but walking in darkness. Old man, you didn't expect that, did you? The evil Uchiha you tried so hard to eradicate, before your death, is actually one of the few people in Konoha who can truly respond to your will, except for us old friends. However, having said that, the third generation project must take steps that should be taken. Of course the root tissue cannot be handed over to a small child, and that's an Uchiha at that. It's not a question of price, but it can also be a question of price. Isn't it possible? Isn't it the bounden duty of a ninja to perform tasks? Ruahuo frowned and said, "Although he is a Hokage, the third generation is also a ninja, right? You are also wearing Konoha's forehead protector. Are you planning to resign like me in order to default on your debt? It's not impossible to resign, but the debt relationship will be transferred to the next Hokage." Cough 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 cough. Third generation choked and coughed. He defaulted on his debt and resigned. Is this little guy's mouth made of chakra iron? Wakahui didn't pay attention to the third generation item, and turned to look at Orochimaru. Teacher, if you become the fourth generation, I can forgive half of the debt and use it as a gift for you to become a Hokage. Really? Orochimaru was not avoiding suspicion at all, and smiled. Teacher has never received a gift worth more than 200 million. It even contains a connotation of one's own teacher. Third generation immediately stared at Orochimaru. I have taught you for more than 20 years, can the hard work you put in be measured by money? Besides, we are all students, so I didn't see you when I took over. This is what I should do, teacher. Ruahuo nodded modestly and said, but when the time comes, you have to let me manage Anbu and protect such an important department as Hokage. I don't feel comfortable leaving it to others. Orochimaru, third generation. My child, you are quite thoughtful. Okay. The third generation project interrupted the two masters and apprentices. If they continue talking, the candidate for the fifth generation project will probably be decided. Xiao Ruahuo, regarding your idea of acquiring the root organization, Grandpa can tell you responsibly. Third generation glanced at Orochimaru next to him, then looked at Orochimaru, who had a serious face, and said in a serious tone, even if Grandpa is third Hokage, there is no way he can agree to you directly on this matter. The root organization is Anbu's training department, and Anbu is as important to Konoha as the Konoha security department. Third generation said seriously, although Grandpa approves of your will of fire, this matter is of great importance. It needs to pass the high-level decision of the elders and the approval of the fire country's daimyo. Can you understand what Grandpa means? If fire, the plan works, plan A can be executed normally. Understood, I can wait. Even if I accept the task, I still have to give the ninja time to prepare. Ruahuo nodded. It just so happens that the elder transfer order of the Fugaku clan also requires the approval of the daimyo. The third generation project can let the daimyo make the decision together. Third generation choked for a moment and almost forgot about it. Fugaku's elder position is just a verbal promise. Whether it is delaying indefinitely or passing the responsibility to the daimyo, there is room for maneuver. But coupled with Ruahuo's root tissue acquisition plan, not good. The third generation project habitually thought about the long term and found that this might be a timed detonation charm. What a coincidence. Ruahuo was really happy to put this detonating talisman into a countdown state right away. But I cannot bear the cost of this decision alone, Ruahuo said coldly. The cost of the decision. Third generation was unable to react immediately. Whether it's Konoha's high-level decisions or the time it takes for the daimyo to make a decision, I can wait, but I can't wait aimlessly. Ruahuo said seriously. This is close to 500 million taels of money. I have a way to double this money in the shortest possible time. Although the amount is huge, doubling it 3 to 5 times shouldn't be a problem. Big. And the value of this money should not be wasted waiting. Even if the root organization is not acquired, I will. What is the expression of third generation? Ruahuo frowned and said coldly, as third Hokage questioning the employer's request. Third generation didn't say anything, but the expression on his face confirmed Ruahuo's statement. 500 million, 5 times. Boy, you can't increase the value of your chips by bragging. Teacher, what this kid means is that he has a technical means that can make Tsunade very excited. Orochimaru promptly reminded his teacher. Tsunade. The third generation reacted and looked at Orochimaru, are you serious? Orochimaru smiled back and looked at Ruahuo again, you can continue, Ruahuo-kun. Ruahuo finally broke out of the falling out mode. Then I'll tell you straight. While waiting, I asked to join Anbu to find out what the level of these ninjas who have passed the examination of the root organization is. Ruahuo finally showed off his fangs. This way, when I officially take over the root organization, I can know how to proceed with the follow-up work. And as far as I know, Ruahuo pointed out the window. Directly opposite the Hokage building, 500 meters away, there are 4 Anbu ninjas in the punishment station. After Elder Danzo apologized, extremely serious disciplinary problems have arisen within Anbu, which lacks supervision. This matter is of great importance. Since I want to inherit the root organization of Elder Danzo, it is impossible to sit idly by. As the root organization of Anbu's training department, it may be possible to put a price tag on it, but the root organization that carries Danzo's dark will is definitely not for sale in Konoha. It can only be passed down and cannot be transferred. Ruahuo knows this very well. Even if the third generation project is willing to sell, the system may not recognize it. And even the Anbu training department and the third generation project have no intention of taking action. It can be heard from his obviously deceptive brainwashing words just now that the third generation project obviously wanted to draw a blank check and had never considered agreeing to it. Only Fugaku would be brainwashed by such words. But if Huo has been preparing for so long, he will definitely not take over a shell company. The third generation project will definitely not give him a bounty of 500 million. But Ruahuo can use this money to put pressure on and create higher value for himself. Now, Ruahuo seems to be acquiring the root organization, but in fact, his minimum goal has always been to join Anbu. Even if you don't let me inherit the root organization of Elder Danzo, at least give me a chance to understand Elder Danzo's dark will, right? Disciplinary issue. Third generation frowned, but after looking at the 4 Anbu standing in the crystal ball, they didn't know how to refute. Yes, and it is a very serious disciplinary issue. There was disgust in Ruahuo's eyes. Those Uncle Anbu's ninja qualities are too low. Their attitude towards work is not even as serious as the lowest level police officers in the security department. Don't they know that I defeated Iwagakure's third Tsuchikage? Ruahuo continued to complain. They came to carry out an interception mission of my level, but they just wanted to talk but not to do anything, trying to make me leave with their saliva. Oh, if I were really the enemy, they would be corpses by now, and the Hokage building would also be attacked by me. If this kind of guy were in the Konoha security department, he would be criticized and suspended for investigation at first. Quote. Third generation and Orochimaru fell silent together. What the kid said makes sense, but why does he feel threatened? The most outrageous thing is that for a moment, the third generation project actually looked forward to what kind of changes Ruahuo would bring to the root organization after it acquired it. Teacher, Orochimaru called out meaningfully and reminded, as Wakahuo-kun's teacher, I must remind you. This child's request is very reasonable, and he has made enough concessions. As a Hokage, you seem to have no position or reason to refuse. Orochimaru has shown up. Compared to the teacher's momentary expectations, Orochimaru's expectations for Wakaki's inheritance of the root organization are much higher. Show your cards, stop pretending. I am Ruahuo-kun's most respected teacher. As a teacher, it is perfectly normal to seek the welfare of your disciples, right, teacher? Is it? The third generation looked at Orochimaru, and how could he not understand the meaning conveyed in Orochimaru's eyes? Danzo, it seems that you were right again. So Orochimaru is also so interested in your legacy. So what happened today will be a microcosm of the entire process of Orochimaru's competition with Hokage. Third generation looked at Ruahuo again. This child, indeed, has the purest will of fire. His will of fire is as hot as the sun, and it is precisely because of this that it creates darker shadows. Just like Danzo, who cherishes Konoha but embraces the darkness, these students who have inherited the teacher's will of fire might as well be. So is Orochimaru planning to train this kid to be the next Danzo? Orochimaru. Can he really suppress this kid? Third generation is thinking a lot at this moment. A decision was also made. If that's the case, then I really have no reason to reject you. Third generation turned around and stood up, went to the window, took a deep drag on the cigarette, and blew the smoke out the window. Shall Ruahuo, although according to the process, joining Anbu requires the consent of the elders, but as the third Hokage, I still have the right to directly promote you to the Anbu guard of Hokage relatives. The third generation's eyes seemed to be answering Wakahui, and also seemed to be telling Orochimaru. From today on, you are my personal guard. Although Danzo strongly opposed it. But which teacher in the world doesn't want to make plans for his students? Orochimaru may not be the most suitable person to become a Hokage. What a coincidence, when he Sarutobi Hiruzen, was preparing to cut off his queen, he never thought that his teacher would pass him the Hokage title. Let this child stay with me for the time being. Let me take care of this child for you. While my will of fire is still hot, over time, this child will become your most reliable helper. By then, I can safely leave Konoha to you, Orochimaru. Become a bodyguard of the third Hokage. Ruahuo's voice was a little confused. Is it the same position as those loose guys outside? Yes. Responding to Ruahuo was Orochimaru. Most of the Hokage's bodyguards are composed of Anbu, and only Anbu's elite can do the job. If you want to understand the basic process of training Anbu ninjas, if you want to learn about the process of training Anbu ninjas, you may gain a lot from Hokage's personal guards. What about the salary? Ruahuo procrastinated. The goal has been achieved, but the system has not given a prompt yet. Is the third generation project just trying to fool him? Protecting the Hokage is a very important task. Orochimaru was very clear about Anbu's rules. It can be regarded as an S-level long-term task, and rewards will be paid according to the task cycle. The specific amount depends on the duration of the task. Then do I have to wear a mask and wear uniform clothes like those uncles? Certainly, although I really want to say to Ruahuo, as long as you are happy, but after all, the teacher is still around, so it is better not to be too indulgent. The teacher can take you to pick up the equipment later. By the way, you may also need a code name. Orochimaru smiled and said, Wakaho-kun, do you want to use the name that the Iwagakure ninjas call you? Ruahuo blinked. Is that okay? Orochimaru thought for a moment. The code name, Uchiha Demon Son in charge of Hell's Flame, might be a bit long. If Fire Lord is willing, you can shorten it a bit. That's not necessary. It won't take long anyway. Looking at the series of prompts that finally appeared in front of him, Ruahuo grinned. Okay, this problem is solved, let's talk about the next problem. Oh, Orochimaru's eyes flashed with confusion. Do you have any questions? Third generation turned around and looked over. Still have questions. But Ruahuo took out a few more notes from his pocket. Quote. Third generation meme and Orochimaru fell silent. Are you done yet? Are you still here? Ruahuo spread out the notes one by one, pointed at the first one, and said seriously. This is my younger brother, Uchiha Shisui's application for admission, and his transcripts from grades 1 to 6, all with perfect marks. This transcript is also the result of my other younger brother, Uchiha Obito. Their results are both excellent and they have met the conditions for early graduation. Ruahuo spread out another 2 pieces of paper, which were 2 applications for early graduation. The column for parents is filled with Ruahuo's name. Because I am going to challenge the Fugaku clan leader recently, and I don't want to have anything to do with him before the decisive battle, so Mr. Third Generation, can you help me pass their application for early graduation? The teacher assigned me a task. As their guiding ninja, I have to lead them to complete it as soon as possible and not be like the little old man in Iwagakure who will not be able to secure his old age. Ruahuo is more of a request than a request. This Party A's attitude is very good. I already paid 500 million taels. What's wrong with asking you for 2 diplomas? Is that too much? I originally wanted to expand on the third generation project because the amount of information is indeed a bit large. I didn't go to school, but I got perfect marks in all subjects. 1 transcript is for 2 people. Third generation couldn't even react for a long time. What happened to the ninja school? However, the third generation project finally chose to approve it, because Ruahuo was more of a notice than a request. The leader of the ninja clan has the power to internally assess whether the clan members have genin strength. Although third generation does not believe that Wakaba can defeat Fugaku without using the power of the tailed beast. But third generation still agreed. Because third generation currently believes that even if Ruahuo's challenge fails, Fugaku will agree to make up for this little guy's self-esteem. In this way, the third generation project finally stamped its seal on the 3 application forms. The person responsible for assessing ninjas will naturally be the Konoha Chunin and Anbu Hokage's bodyguard, codenamed Uchiha Demon Son in charge of the flames of hell, Uchiha Ruahuo. Ruahuo Lord, are you sure you want to use this code name? Before receiving the equipment and registering the file, Orochimaru confirmed again. if the code name is too long, it may be inconvenient for teammates to communicate and transmit signals. This is the code name given to me by the enemy, Sensei. Our Uchiha clan has always respected our opponents. As for my teammates, they can call me Captain. I'm here for inspection, and I'm not really serving as a bodyguard for third generation. Wakaki was not very impatient and said expressionlessly, Konoha building is the safest place in Konoha. As long as the third generation does not step onto the battlefield in person, the so-called enemy does not exist. Besides, I defeated the third Tsuchikage and defeated Iwagakure's main force. How could a ninja like me live in the Hokage building for so long? Ruahuo's words were somewhat sarcastic. Same as the original time and space. Although the Uchiha clan stepped onto the battlefield, performed war missions and won a great victory, they did not stir up even a little splash in Konoha. Ordinarily, no matter how diluted his combat exploits are by Four Tails, Five Tails, Kushina and Orochimaru, he can't be so mediocre. But it is what it is. Regarding the importance of this battle, almost no one in Konoha has talked about it for a month. Ordinary villagers, like the takoyaki vendor, didn't even know what happened that night. He was so angry that he directly issued a 1,000 tael fine. It feels like Uchiha just went to the battlefield once and then returned to Konoha. To this, Ruahuo had reason to suspect that a certain elder who had apologized, had secretly changed his identity to the head of Konoha's public relations department. You must know that in the original time and space of this period, there should have been a public opinion offensive against White Fang. But obviously this wave of public opinion has not disappeared. It's just because of him that the Uchiha clan's achievements on the battlefield were downplayed. Ruahuo will definitely not suffer this loss. This will also be a special task that he tries to complete during his short tenure after becoming Anbu Hokage's bodyguard. These guys dare to erase Uchiha's military exploits today. You dare to attack the Hokage building tomorrow and endanger Hokage's personal safety. As a bodyguard of the Hokage and a responsible Uchiha, how can he just sit back and watch? Registered, Orochimaru-sama. Anbu, who was in charge of registration, acted quickly. After the registration was completed, he took out a set of Anbu standard equipment. A long knife, a pair of wrist guards, a set of clothes, a whiteboard mask with small ears, and a special ninja tool bag, which already contains ninja tools. Wakahuo-kun, how about coloring your mask first? Orochimaru handed the paint and pen to Wakahuo. Ruahuo also joined Anbu for the first time, and then he realized that those fancy masks were actually painted by himself. I originally wanted to get a mask with the same style as Obito cover, but the two small ears really messed up the design, and the overall shape is not the same as Obito's oval mask. He was in a hurry to receive the system reward, so he drew on his eyebrows, circled his eyes, made another scar on the left side of his face, and finally pinched off a piece of his right ear. This is... Orochimaru couldn't see Wakaki's style. It's a wolf. Wolf. Yeah, big wolf. Ruahuo was in a hurry, picked up the things and walked out. Teacher, I won't go to work today. I have to help my two brothers complete the assessment in the afternoon, and by the way complete the tasks you assigned. Okay. Orochimaru followed Ruahuo outside, and when they parted, he took out an envelope from his arms and handed it to Ruahuo. This is the agreed reward. You can distribute it yourself after you complete the task. It seems that the teacher has not inherited the bad habit of defaulting on debts from the third generation project, which is good. Ruahuo took the envelope, put it away, and said seriously, Teacher, don't worry, when I complete the acquisition of the root organization in a few days and become the leader of the Uchiha clan, I will definitely recommend the teacher to become a Hokage. Add the elder vote of Elder Fugaku, and you can win the votes of the other two elders, so that the third generation project can retire soon. Oh, Orochimaru smiled gracefully. Wakaho-kun, do you really want your teacher to become a Hokage? That's not true. Ruahuo said bluntly, I just hope that third generation will retire as soon as possible. He is old and being overworked is not good for his health. The little old man in Iwagakure village is a good example. He was obviously a troublesome person even for the third generation project, but he was easily defeated by me. This is obviously the price of overwork. Although third generation is a Hokage who likes to smoke in the rear and is not in any danger, he is getting older and it's time to retire. Quote. Orochimaru did not give the teacher another blow this time like he did when he answered his grandma at Ruahuo's house. Cough 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 cough. A certain Hokage in front of the crystal ball was choked. What does it mean to be a Hokage who likes to smoke in the back? What does it mean to not encounter any danger easily? This little guy's mouth. By the way, teacher, 3 days later in the evening, the Uchiha clan will hold a clan meeting. Wakahui did not forget to remind Orochimaru before leaving, I will challenge Elder Fugaku that day. If the teacher wants to visit, you can give me my name. Is this appropriate? Orochimaru smiled. The teacher is not Uchiha after all. Wakahui interrupted. But the teacher has a student who is about to become the leader of the Uchiha clan. Teacher, just go ahead. It would be best if you can call Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama. Saying that, Ruahuo suddenly opened the 3 Megatama and suddenly looked in the direction of the Hokage building. At this moment, in the crystal ball screen in front of 3rd generation, Ruahuo was looking directly at him through the crystal ball. Hokage-sama had better come. Ruahuo said in a calm tone, as if he were having a conversation. The picture you see in the crystal ball is definitely not as clear as what you see on site. Chapter 91. Family Mission A. Join the route Anbu Square Route. Get A-level family rewards. 10 Tails Body Ghetto Statue Mini Version. 10 Tails Body Ghetto Statue Mini Version. Collect all Tailed Beast Chakra 1% to activate it. After activation, you can get 10 Tails Mini Version. You have obtained the S-level skill, Tailed Beast Jade. 10 Tails Mini Version. With 1% of the power of 10 tails, 1% of the size of 10 tails, after absorbing enough chakra, it can produce the seed of a sacred tree, and the host will become 10 Tails Mini Version of Jinchuriki. 10 Tails Mini Version of Jinchuriki. You will unlock the power of 6 paths, and obtain S-level skills, Truth-Seeking Ball, and S-level skills, Tailed Beast Jade. You have obtained the A-level main skill slot 1. Your Sharingan has evolved into Mangekyo Sharingan, click to view. The Family Strength module has been opened, click to view. Quote. Quote. Ruahuo squatted on a telephone pole opposite the ninja school. Looking at the fist-sized model of Ghetto statue in the conscious space, I fell into silence. 10 Tails body he knew. He also knows the Ghetto statue. This mini version of Wakahu is not difficult to understand either. Although 10 Tails is over 1,000 meters tall, with 1% being 10 meters tall, it can indeed be called a miniature in front of any tailed beast. It is not difficult to understand that after becoming a mini 10 Tails Jinchuriki, you can activate the power of 6 paths to unlock the Truth-Seeking Ball. Obito in the original time and space also served as an incomplete 10 Tails Jinchuriki and received a short-lived, incomplete Otsutsuki experience card. Although his 10 Tails is a mini version, it is still 10 Tails, and his roots are in full bloom. But what the hell is this sacred tree seed? Is it the kind that will grow a sacred tree if you plant it? Ruahuo scratched his head, inexplicably feeling that the system seemed a little crazy. I was given the Indra Chakra earlier, which looked powerful, but other than turning him into a true spiritual boy, and a good partner of the tailed beast, it really didn't have any special effects. But this time it's different. Not to mention that 1% of the power of 10 Tails is terrifying enough. The key is that after the mini 10 Tails is fully activated, it can give seeds to a sacred tree. It is possible to plant a real sacred tree. It can produce chakra fruit, turning Otsutsuki into a real kami. First activate the power of 6 paths, then plant the chakra tree, and then bear the chakra fruit, then swallow the chakra fruit, and evolve into a god. Isn't this the Otsutsuki's evolution manual? Is it Uchiha or Otsutsuki that I am bound to? Ruahuo is starting to look forward to the S-class family mission. After giving so many perverted things, it was only an A-level reward. We have to go to Kushina later to borrow chakra, then Kokuo and Goku, and then the other tailed beasts. Well, it just so happens that we can add more members to the tailed beast house, and we can also revitalize the sacred tree by the time. Well, and the Ninja World Security Department will no longer need prisons in the future. As long as there are prisoners, they will be directly reformed into white Zetsu. Perfect. Ruahuo raised his eyebrows, feeling that the Ninja World Security Department's plan had already taken a big step forward before it even started, and was getting closer to the direction of the planet's security department. Then I looked at the Ghetto statue, which was the same as the model. Check again that there is no missing information. Wakahuo temporarily put aside the choice of A-level main skills and clicked on the Mangekyo interface. You have obtained the limited eye skill. Left, you can activate all main skills through your right eye. Special effects can be added. You have obtained the limited pupil technique. Right, if it is not activated, you need to upgrade Little Vulcan to the next level. S-level ninjutsu reserve, 2/3. You have obtained the limited skill S. Susano. The system really provides the eye technique. Ruahuo glanced at the introduction. It is not difficult to find that the two limited pupil techniques belonging to him on the left and right are related to the rewards of the system. One is a buff type reward that can be continuously evolved since E-level. Currently, there is still one S-level ninjutsu that can be unlocked, and it is currently unavailable. One is a reward that is issued in stages starting from C-level. The main skill can be activated through the pupil technique. So my Great Fireball will just stare at whoever catches fire. Then Shadow Clone. It's not difficult to imagine the pupil version of Great Fireball. It's nothing more than a low-end version of Flame Control's Amaterasu. But this pupil version of Shadow Clone makes Ruahuo a little curious. Ruakata decisively activated Mangekyo, locked his right eye on another telephone pole 10 meters away, and activated his B-level main skill, Shadow Clone. Puff! A line of white smoke appeared next to the telegraph pole that was focused on. Shadow Clone appeared immediately, grabbed the telegraph pole immediately, jumped up and squatted on it. Is it the same pattern as Indra? Ruahuo asked, how do you feel? It was, quite suddenly. I saw the telephone pole all of a sudden, and almost kissed it. Why don't you try looking further away? Shadow Clone Kaido. Let's wait until it cools down. Ruahuo was a little excited. If Shadow Clone can be activated by locking it, what is the difference between this and Flying Thunder God? Launch the pupil technique from thousands of miles away to penetrate into the enemy's camp and take the local leader. What if I bring another telescope? Ruahuo raised his eyebrows and looked at the other limited pupil technique. Technically speaking, his Mangekyo is only half activated at the moment. The other one hasn't been opened yet, but if Huo has a faint feeling, it shouldn't be too weak. At least it has to be balanced with the left eye, right? Then there are the limited skills that appear together with the limited pupil technique. S-class Susano. One Dust Style and one Susano, these are the two S-level skills he currently possesses. Although he has not yet obtained the S-level skill slot, Ruahuo is already struggling. Laser, Gundam, or the pupil version of the Filthy Earth reincarnation. S-level forbidden techniques are also S-level. Moreover, the main skill does not limit forbidden arts or ninjutsu. He can add Truth-Seeking Ball to the main skill if he wants. So this has not yet appeared, the only S-level skill slot. Who should be favored? Wow, it's so hard to choose. Wakaka showed the same smile as Orochimaru, and silently opened the Family Strength template unlocked by completing the A-level family mission. Current bound family, Uchiha. Scale 3, Territory Scope C, Ethnic Population A, Ethnic Reputation B+, Overall Evaluation, B+. Combat Power 3, High-End Combat Power S, Ninja Base and Ratio B, Potential Development B, Overall Rating, A. Resources 3, Cash Flow B+, Ninja Tool Reserve B+, War Weapons at New, Overall Rating, A. Overall Evaluation of Family Strength, A. Quote. Ruahuo pursed his lips. Nothing else matters. Look at the big C in the territory. Ruahuo felt that he had found the direction. Ruahuo's guess was indeed correct. The A previously rated by the family is the A of A. It's only now that it has the attribute of war weapon that it has become a real A. I have to say that if you want to go from A to S, the gap is indeed a bit big. But the difficulty of improvement is actually not high. Mainly those two items that Ruahuo labeled as thorny attributes. Family territory, C. Potential development B. The former is judged by Ruahuo as a thorny attribute because the system's judgment ratio may be a bit outrageous. The population of the ethnic group can be judged as A. The number of members of the Uchiha clan is relatively large among all the ninja clans in the ninja world. Indeed, quite a few. In the first few years after Wakahara traveled through time, he often took Obito from house to count heads. He wanted to know how many people Uchiha Itachi killed in one night. The answer is 2,000 plus guaranteed. Wakaki realized at that time that, with Obito only in charge of the security department, Itachi alone couldn't cut him down. There must be help from the enthusiastic masses, and there is a high probability that they all attacked. As for Anbu, no one knows. And in terms of numbers, as for the family that Wakuka can think of that can compare with the Uchiha family in terms of population size, apart from Hyuga, the only one seems to be the Yezuki gang. Hyuga is a family that has developed from the first generation project to the 7th generation project. Its survivability and ability to stand in a team are really hard to beat. The Yaoi gang is the Yaoi clan of Kumogakure. They form the bond of this ninja clan, and the component of loyalty will be higher than blood relationship. Besides, in his previous life, he had heard the saying, 3,000 Sarutobi in the 4-war ninja world, but after learning about it, he realized that there really weren't that many people in the Sarutobi clan. At least much less than Uchiha who can compete with Konoha. But the population density of the Uchiha clan is actually not high. Although the Uchiha clan is remote, the clan's territory is definitely not small. But in this case, the system actually gave the lowest rating of C for domain-wide attributes. It seems that if we don't take down the entire fire country, it will definitely be impossible. Ruahuo knew it immediately. According to the system's evaluation method, if you want to raise Uchiha's territory to S, you have to increase it at least hundreds of times. Then Konoha must change its flag, and further expansion requires the consent of the daimyo. Then let's fight. Why can't Uchiha have his own daimyo? The second thorny attribute is potential development. The B rating, Ruahuo believes, should refer to the awakening and development of Sharingan. The first thing Wakahara thought of were two guys who had used Sanmagatama and Mangekyo to the extreme, respectively. One is the second pillar. The second pillar of the Cursed Seal version can be said to have developed the 3 Magatama to the extreme. Although it may be because there is no control group, there is definitely an increase in the Cursed Seal's effect on the second pillar. Moreover, it complements the 3 Magatama, at least in terms of potential development. The Cursed Seal is definitely effective for Uchiha. Obito has developed the one-eyed Mangekyo to the extreme, playing with one eye to the finale, and this is still a movie-level intensity. Obito relies on White Zetsu's transformation, which can be regarded as Hashirama cells. And both of them seem to be inseparable from Orochimaru. Of course, you can also find Madara first and seize the right to use Bai Zetsu. Madara has been in hiding for more than 40 years and has a very high awareness of counter-reconnaissance. I have to let him come to me. Ruahuo pursed his lips, and thought of Obito for the first time, and Shisui for the second time, then checked these two options, and finally locked Nagato. Uchiha, it's better to take the initiative. Madara can't be found, but you can find Madara's eyes first. It seems I have to go to the land of rain. Ruakage secretly made a decision. Orochimaru and Madara advanced in 2 directions, and he had to get both the Cursed Seal and White Zetsu transformation. In fact, the territory scope and potential development only need to reach A or above. For other attributes, Ruahuo can be forcibly upgraded to S. Especially resource attributes. No cash flow. Find Kato. Find Kakuzu. Be bolder and go directly to the daimyo. Don't have enough ninja tools. Loot. Don't miss every ninja tool bag on the battlefield. Build a production line and make it yourself. War weapons. Tailed beasts. Anyway, you need tailed beast chakra to feed mini 10 tails, so grab it. If you lack resources, you have to plunder. This is the essence of war. Now is the time for war to start. As for the ninja ratio and ninja base, it's simple. Start from a baby, enter school at the age of 4, go to the battlefield at the age of 5, and focus on one game where everyone is a soldier. Uchiha needs its own ninja school, not just for children, adults must also be worthy of the clan emblem. The rest seems to be just family reputation. Ruahuo feels that the determination of this attribute should be an absolute value algorithm. Uchiha is quite famous in the ninja world, so he shouldn't be just a B. But in Konoha, Uchiha is just a group of annoying police officers who only deal with trivial matters and care about every detail. Then follow through on Uchiha's notoriety. Hey, that Uchiha kid on the telephone pole. Suddenly, a middle-aged security ninja at the gate of the ninja school yelled at Ruahuo. I've been paying attention to you for a long time. You're so sneaky. Come down now. Ha, Ruahuo frowned. I am full of passion, what are you barking at? Okay. Ruahuo jumped down obediently, and then threw him over with a genjutsu. The middle-aged security ninja immediately froze on the spot, his eyes were empty, and then cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and his whole body was shaking, as if he had seen something terrifying. Tisk tisk. This is the kind of person who dares to yell at the Uchiha clan despite being a scumbag who doesn't even deserve a name. I don't know what those Uchiha who chose to betray the clan leader back then would think if they could see such a scene. Ruahuo shook his head and silently walked to the teaching building. Will they regret it? Ruahuo really doesn't know. Anyway, when he gets the Dirty Land reincarnation, he will definitely call those people out and ask them. As for Uchiha now, let's give third generation me and Danzo some time. He can be a leader, but a savior is obviously more attractive. It is true that he needs to improve Uchiha's overall strength, but if these tribesmen want to go against him and continue to enjoy peace, he will not have any possibility of being soft-hearted. He already knew the consequences of choosing peace. What if Uchiha Madara is just too weak? Back then, if I didn't follow Hashirama to the Valley of the End. Anyone who dares to challenge Izanagi. Just wait for a few years and wait for second generation to start putting pressure on Uchiha before the king returns. Why did the dignified Uchiha Madara hide underground for decades and transform from a Shira in the ninja world to a lonely old man? After all, his Uchiha Madara's will of fire is still not pure enough. This is the pocket money I saved for a year. Ninja school, the teaching building, the last toilet diagonally opposite the first grade class. A little boy wearing a headscarf and black glasses, holding a piggy bank in his arms, looked firmly at the hedgehog-headed boy in front of him. Obito, are you sure we can really do this? Are you questioning me? Obito frowned and asked again. You don't believe me? No, 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 no. The little boy shook his head like a rattle, paused, and his eyes became firmer. I believe you, Obito. The little boy clenched his fists very hard. We will definitely blow up the school. No, 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 no. It's not us, it's you. Obito shook his head. Ebisu, you have to figure something out. I just accidentally brought my elder brother's detonating charm to school. When I went to the toilet to take out a paper to wipe my butt, it accidentally fell out. That's all. I know nothing about your plans, and what you do has nothing to do with me. As Obito said, he slapped a detonating charm on Ebisu's hand and snatched his piggy bank away. Remember, you have never traded with me, and we have never met. Obito weighed the piggy bank and felt it was about the same, so he turned around and left. Obito. Ebisu clenched his fists, waved his arms, and said firmly, we will definitely succeed. Obito stopped and turned to look at Ebisu coolly. Even if you don't succeed, even if you all fail, it doesn't matter to me. Until this evil place is completely destroyed, as long as I have breath, I will not let the fire go out. Go for it boldly. Even if you fail alone, there will be thousands of you. One day, when this evil place turns into ruins, we will stand on top of these ruins and praise the brave men who continue to fight. After Obito finished speaking, he turned around, raised one arm high, and said softly, justice will prevail. Ebisu also raised one arm high, justice will prevail. Quote. Silent all the way, Obito's pace became faster and faster, passing through the classroom door, then passing the teacher's office, twisting and turning, and finally came to the leftmost door of a row of utility rooms in the corner of the school. Obito raised his 2 fingers, poof. The transformation technique is lifted and it is Shisui. Dong dong. Shisui knocked on the door of the utility room and began to count in his mind. No one gate of opening. Shisui waited patiently, and when he counted 5 in his mind, he knocked on the door again. Boom. Dong dong. 1 long and 2 short, the code passed, and in the utility room 2 rooms away on the right, Obito opened the door. Come on. Obito waved quickly. Shisui looked around to make sure there was no one around, then suddenly rushed into the room. Brother. As soon as he entered the door, Shisui saw his eldest brother and said in surprise, "You are here." Ruahuo nodded and took out a few small notes. "Here are your applications for admission, as well as your application for early graduation. Obito, this is your." "Okay." Obito looked excited, "I can finally graduate." "You haven't had classes for 2 days, why are you so excited?" Ruahuo patted the back of Obito's head. Ruahuo still finds it outrageous to say that the reason Obito skipped class was actually to practice fire style. "You don't want your Uchiha Lin." "Hehe. I get excited when I think of being able to carry out missions with my big brother." Obito scratched his head. "Me too." Shisui's little face also showed excitement, and he took out a small notebook from his arms and handed it to Ruahuo. "Brother, everyone who bought the detonating talisman is here. I spent time at noon to change the handwriting to Asma's, and also put 10 detonating talismans and more than 4,000 taels of change into his school bag. Although he reported it to Teacher Omu this morning, but Teacher Omu has not made the matter public yet, we are not without a chance to make a comeback." Shisui said confidently. "We can completely frame the whole thing on him and say that he is a thief." "Brother, I have arranged for several timid guys. They will insist that Obito did it. Obito only needs to pretend to be panicked." When Metkai discovered the contents of Asma's school bag and everyone focused on Asma, Brother Obito once again insisted that he had only sold a small amount of detonating charms, and the ones with the loudest names were fierce fellows. "The detonating charm they bought was stolen by me a long time ago. They have no evidence, so it's slander. At that time, even Teacher Omu will start to doubt Asuma's motive for reporting." Shisui's eyes were slightly cold and he sneered. "And just yesterday morning, Asuma showed the fact that he had mastered the transformation technique in front of all the girls in the class. Brother, please expose this list with his handwriting again. Even if he is the son of Hokage, he is destined to be unable to turn over." Ruahuo's face remained calm, but the corners of his eyes still twitched. At the beginning of man's life, his nature is evil. The environment creates talents, and those who are born with their talents will be useful, and even a good boy can become a villain. Let's just say, with Shisui's IQ, he turned dark at the age of 4, how could Danzo use it to deceive Shisui in the future? Look at this tactic. Lure the enemy deep into the enemy's territory, subvert the enemy's strength, hide the truth from the enemy, and turn things upside down. These are all Danzo's tricks. One thing to say, even Ruahuo didn't hear any flaws. I have used the reward of 500 million taels to apply to the 3rd generation project to acquire the roots. Ruahuo rubbed Shisui's little head. "After 2 years, when you grow up a little, I will leave the roots under your control, Shisui." "Brother." Obito was anxious. "What about me?" "Don't worry, Obito. I have other uses for your pig brain." Ruahuo rubbed Obito's spiky head again. Next to him, Shisui was still so calm. "But big brother, 3rd generation, will you agree? This is how a normal person should react." Although Shisui is less than 5 years old, he may not agree now, and is even thinking about how to deal with me like he deceived Elder Fugaku. But it doesn't matter. Ruahuo smiled confidently. When he comes to Uchiha 3 days later, he will witness with his own eyes the change of Uchiha's clan leader. When the time comes, he will definitely change his mind. Looking at his eldest brother with "Invincible" written all over his face, Shisui's eyes were full of admiration. Ruahuo saw this and quietly breathed a sigh of relief. This is what a child should look like. Shisui's plan is indeed perfect. But Ruahuo didn't let Shisui do this. Confirming Asma's selling of detonating talismans will only make him a hero. Otherwise, why would Asma get involved? And if the son of the Hokage was involved in purchasing the detonating talisman and blowing up the school, then the result would be different. Asuma will definitely resist after being framed, but the more he resists, the more he will be isolated by those who want to blow up the evil place, that is the ninja school. By then, he will be a traitor in everyone's eyes. Shisui understood everything immediately revised the plan, and achieved a complete success. Asuma, who chose to report the gang after failing to join the gang, received the punishment he deserved. The son of the Hokage was labeled a traitor by his classmates. Obito and Shisui, on the other hand, were picked up by Wakahuo in a grand manner with their respective graduation applications. The students were surprised that there was an extra classmate in the class who they had never seen before but felt very familiar with. And I sincerely envy and admire Anbu Ruahuo, who graduated early and was already a Hokage guard when we met again. In order to pretend to be beeping, Ruahuo specially changed his wave equipment, and the top secret identity of Anbu was directly exposed. Wealth and honor do not return home, just like walking at night in brocade clothes. Anyway, I don't plan to stay in Anbu for long. How long will I stay if I don't pretend to be beeping now? Speaking of which, this can be considered a class reunion, and Ruahuo finally ended up living the life he hates the most. Before leaving, Ruahuo specially called Kakashi out. If I hadn't heard my father talk about your deeds, I really couldn't believe that you were already. Tisk, I can only say that you are worthy of being the squad leader. Kakashi is much more cheerful than the one in Ruahuo's memory. There is still a big difference between having a father and not having a father. You should hurry up and graduate early. These days, it's easier to find a job if you graduate early. Ruahuo patted Kakashi on the shoulder. By the way, 3 nights later is the Uchiha clan's clan meeting. Let's invite Uncle White Fang to join in the fun. Kakashi didn't sound right. Can outsiders enter the Uchiha clan's clan meeting? This time is a special case. Both Sanin and 3rd generation will come. I'm also planning to call some more heads of small families, such as Nara Akamaiki. It's going to be so lively. Kakashi looked suspicious. Special case. Can you disclose it, Monitor? It's nothing. The current Uchiha clan leader is about to resign, and the new clan leader will take over. However, the strength of the Uchiha clan is respected, and the final result will be determined by victory or defeat. That's it. Kakashi didn't really want to agree. He always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't explain it, so he had to resort to procrastination. Then I'll go back and tell Dad. When does it start? 8 o'clock. Ruahuo smiled brightly, waved his hands and left. Remember not to be late. There is a huge difference in strength between the 2 clan leaders. It might be over a minute late. By the way, please help me tell Mr. Omu that I just forgot to invite him. Bye. Kakashi waved his hand symbolically, and when he saw Ruahuo leaving, he turned around and walked back to the classroom, muttering on the way. You didn't even say that you should refund me the money for the detonating talisman. You shouldn't have listened to my father. Alas. The people in Uchiha are indeed crazy. 2 people went to school with the same identity, sold a bunch of detonating charms and applied for graduation together. This world is really weird. Ruahuo was not in a hurry to go home, but took his 2 younger brothers to visit one by one. Sister Kushina, we have a clan meeting in Uchiha in 3 nights, let's join in the fun together. Of course, but Kushina should keep an eye on her little brother. He seems to be the type to get into trouble. It was because of him last time that I almost burned 3rd Hokage to death. By the way, Sister Kushina, let Kurama lend me some chakra. Hello, Shikaku-senpai, wow, your hairline is so cool. The Uchiha clan's clan meeting is coming in 3 days, why don't you come over to have a fun time? What, you want to talk to 5 Tails? Hey, you want to try controlling the tailed beast Tama using the Shadow Ninja method? Oh, you mean your arm is fine and you are free these days. So don't be late at 8 o'clock in the evening 3 days later. Hello, I'm looking for Senior Ding Zhao. I am Lord Ruahuo. I don't believe that the Senior Ding Zhuo I know can swallow 3 of you in one bite. You're just kidding, the Uchiha clan meeting will begin in 3 days at 8 o'clock in the evening. Choza-senpai will come over to make it lively. Ruahuo took his 2 younger brothers for a walk around the major families in Konoha. The time for the replacement of the old and new patriarchs of Uchiha is coming soon, so naturally the more lively the scene, the better. The last person they visited was the Hyuga clan. Brother, why did we invite these cowards? Obito kept staring back at every Hyuga tribesman who looked at him, and he could hardly lock onto a pair of Magatama. Be polite, Obito. Ruahuo patted the back of Obito's head. They are just timid, but they have not turned into ghosts yet. However, their white eyes are indeed quite useful. Unfortunately, only the current and future heads of the Zong family can have their eyes gouged out. Compared to Obito, Wakahu's 3 Magatama is obviously more powerful. Many Hyuga stopped when the 3 Uchiha brats stepped into the clan territory and looked at them coldly. Although they did not say anything bad, their hostility was not concealed. Not long ago, Ruahuo had just dealt with a lot of people from the branch house. Do you know what is the biggest difference between Hyuga and Uchiha? Shisui, Ruahuo asked. I don't know, brother. Shisui praised. The Hyuga clan would never dare to step into the Uchiha clan's territory, because if you go in, you won't be able to get out, and until we came to the door of their Hyuga clan head, they didn't even dare to stop me. Maybe you used too much force in the fire style last time, brother. Shisui praised again. Maybe this incident left a psychological shadow on them. Stop it, Uchiha. Suddenly, along with a cold voice, Ruahuo saw a familiar figure directly in front of the 3 people in the CBD. You were discharged from the hospital so quickly, Chief Hazashi. Quote. The other party's expression was cold and he gritted his teeth. I am Hyuga Hiyashi, Hazashi's twin brother. Hazashi hasn't been born yet. I don't care. Ruahuo took out a piggy bank from his arms and threw it towards Hyuga Hazashi. That's the money I've saved for a year. I'm here to release the commission today. Hyuga Hiyashi caught the piggy bank thrown by Wakaki. Judging from the portion size, it's better not to feel it anymore. Even if it was filled with coins, it wouldn't hold much money. For Hyuga Hiyashi, it's not about money at all. But the question is what the Uchiha boy who can send Hazashi and more than 20 Hyuga elites to Konoha Hospital by himself, and who has strong hostility to the Hyuga clan, wants to do. This is against the rules. Hyuga Hiyashi refused coldly. If you want to issue a mission, you should go to the mission office in the Hokage building instead of coming directly to the Hyuga tribe. Tell me your purpose, Uchiha Ruahuo, I don't want to waste time with you. Hyuga Hiyashi said and threw the piggy bank to Wakahui again. Of course, if you just want to provoke the Hyuga clan, then I will tell you as the head of the Hyuga clan. Hyuga Hiyashi's eyes became colder. You have succeeded. Oh ho. Ruahuo raised his eyebrows and shrugged, looking frivolous and playful. Listen to this tone, look at this style. The Hyuga clan leader is very powerful. You can tell that I am here to provoke you without even rolling your eyes. Ruahuo kept throwing the piggy bank and catching it again, and the coins inside made a crisp sound. Sudden, whoosh, Ruahuo slammed the piggy bank at Hyuga Hiyashi with enough force. Hyuga Hiyashi caught it with one hand, but the piggy bank broke. Wow, the coins inside were scattered all over the floor, and 1 or 2 paper bills could be seen falling. Hyuga Hiyashi frowned, his cold gaze locked on Ruahuo. But Ruahuo raised his head provocatively and pointed at the coins scattered on the ground and the broken piggy bank. Pick it up for me. Presumptuous. The unbearable Hyuga clan members nearby rushed forward immediately. They all rolled their eyes angrily and their eye sockets were covered with veins. They wanted to teach these 3 arrogant Uchiha brats a lesson. Come on. Obito Sharingan lit up and took out a kunai from his pocket, entering battle mode. Shisui quietly came behind Ruahuo. He is the youngest and can't beat others in a fight. It would be nice if he doesn't cause trouble to brother Obito and brother Wakahuo later. Ruahuo still had a provocative smile on his face. You acted first. Now we are choosing self-defense. If we accidentally send you all to the hospital, there will be nothing the 3rd Hokage can do. Ruahuo raised his fingers. Everyone, stop it. Hyuga Hiyashi suddenly shouted. Like Fugaku, Hyuga Hiyashi also became the head of the clan at a young age. And he also has a very high prestige in the clan. Half of this prestige comes from the clan system of the Hyuga clan, and the other half comes from his younger brother Hyuga Hazashi. This is the benefit of the elder Hyuga patriarch giving birth to twins. One is in charge of the clan house and the other is in charge of the branch house. In the future, although the 2 brothers had a quarrel over the clan system, at a critical moment, Hazashi still stood up for his brother and chose to commit suicide. But that was later. At least now, as the head of the clan, Hyuga Hiyashi's orders to his clan members are still very binding. All Hyuga stopped under the order, but their eyes were still fixed on Ruahuo. Come on, Obito couldn't give up, I'm not afraid. Quote. Ruahuo shook Obito's head and said, Okay Obito, they don't have the guts. Then he looked at Hyuga Hiyashi and said in a playful tone, Chief Hyuga, many members of your Hyuga clan participated in the Iwagakure battlefield a month ago, right? Quote. Hyuga Hiyashi did not respond. Ruahuo didn't stop, and continued. The death rate in that battle was quite high. Iwagakure made a surprise attack, all the elites came out, the front line almost collapsed, and everyone almost couldn't come back. Right. Quote. Hyuga Hiyashi still didn't respond, but his brows furrowed deeper. But no matter what, Konoha still won that battle. The extremely heroic Uchiha defeated the Iwagakure troops and repelled the invading enemies. Only then did the frontline Konoha ninjas return to Konoha. Wakahuo continued. Although your Hyuga clan has sacrificed many people, there should be many clan members who have returned to Konoha, right? Otherwise, those Iwagakure who had no time to retreat would not have casually captured 3 members of the Hyuga clan as hostages. Ruahuo's eyes suddenly became extremely sharp and his expression became serious. Clan leader Hyuga, you won't deny what I said. Quote. Hyuga Hiyashi has not yet responded, but the Hyuga tribesman next to him couldn't help it. Everyone was about to yell out angrily, but was stopped by Hyuga Hiyashi again with a cold shout. Shut up, everyone. When did we, the Hyuga clan, attack children in our own clan? Everyone spread out. Hyuga Hiyashi shouted away the clansmen, and then looked at Ruahuo. You were right, it was the Uchiha clan who appeared in time and turned the tide of the war. But that doesn't mean anything, Why doesn't this mean anything? Wakahui suddenly interrupted. The Uchiha clan saved the lives of all Konoha ninjas on the frontline battlefield, including your Hyuga clan. What, you want to say that the people we saved are worthless? Or do you want to say that those Hyuga who survived were born to die on the battlefield? Answer me, head of the Hyuga family. We Uchiha are not without sacrifices. I want to hear your attitude now. Wakahara directly showed his Sharingan, and a pair of Sharingan locked onto Hyuga Hiyashi. His aura suddenly switched from the arrogant naughty boy just now to the Uchiha demon son who is in charge of the flames of hell. Although this title is very long. But it comes from the enemy. The enemy still knows how to fear Uchiha, you Hyuga. What are you dragging here? Quote. Hyuga Hiyashi gritted his teeth. It can only be said that he is worthy of being the genius of Uchiha who captured 2-tailed beasts one after another. At this moment, he really felt the pressure on this Uchiha brat. But as the leader of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hiyashi cannot back down. Especially in front of so many tribesmen. The Hyuga clan will never forget anything that is kind to the Hyuga clan. So, after you injured Hazashi and the tailed beast garrison that day, I didn't hold Uchiha accountable. Hyuga Hiyashi said coldly. Since that incident, Uchiha's kindness to Hyuga has been repaid. You are overthinking, Chief Hyuga. Ruahuo tilted his head. They provoked me first, and my partners almost went berserk. If I hadn't used fire style to send them to the hospital in time, you would have collected their bodies. In this matter, you Hyuga can only owe me one more time instead of repaying the debt. Of course, I, Uchiha, don't want to reconcile with you Hyuga. Uchiha doesn't want this favor. Wakaka crossed his arms across his chest and said with the same expression and tone as Uchiha Madara. 3 days later in the evening, the Uchiha clan will hold a clan meeting to select the new clan leader. At that time, including the 3rd Hokage and Sannin, all the top ninja clan leaders in Konoha will go to observe. In order to prevent anyone from taking advantage of troubled waters, I need the Hyuga clan to take charge of security. Don't even think about refusing, Hyuga clan leader, you owe me this. From now on, the 2 debts the Hyuga clan owes Uchiha will be wiped out. Of course, Uchiha will also pay enough to the Hyuga clan. Ruahuo pointed to the coins and the cracked piggy bank. I have a deep affection for that piggy bank, but the head of the Hyuga family broke it. Together with the mental damages, it's worth 100 million. That makes sense, right? Brother, 100 million is still too cheap for them. After leaving the Hyuga tribe, Obito muttered unhappily. Hyuga are different from the brats in the ninja school, they are super rich. He is indeed very rich. Obito paid a lot for his beating last time. You'll understand when you grow up, Obito. Ruahuo rubbed Obito's head. Money is just a number, a reflection of productivity and value. When will the ninja world, under the leadership of Uchiha, have sufficient productivity and supplies and distribute them according to needs, then money and other things will not be so important. It's hard. In Ruahuo's previous life, the rabbits have worked hard for several generations and made many sacrifices and efforts. This is how they used Dongfeng Express to transport this supreme doctrine to every corner of the world. Ruahuo was born in an era of nuclear peace. At that time, the main theme of the world was production, labor, and the people of the world were one family. As a rabbit who has been influenced by advanced ideas, witnessed brilliance under the leadership of his predecessors, and has escaped most low-level tastes, Ruahuo has always been committed to making the world go on the right path. This is how he taught his two younger brothers. Do you understand, Tuzi? I understand, brother. Obito nodded at the speed of light. Oh, Ruahuo was a little surprised that Obito could have such understanding. Then tell me, what do you know? I saw Obito raising his arms high. Only under the leadership of Big Brother can Uchiha and the ninja world move towards glory. Long live justice. Little Shisui also raised his arms. Long live justice. Quote. Ruahuo hesitated for half a second, but still couldn't hold it back. Long live justice. There is nothing wrong with thinking about it. Uchiha is justice. Long live justice. That's right, brother. At this time, Shisui suddenly asked, Brother, are you planning to clear out all the Hyuga in the Uchiha tribe? I thought that the head of the Hyuga family would be angered by his eldest brother, but I didn't expect that he actually agreed in the end. Danzo-chan. Shisui-chan doesn't quite understand that although the Hyuga clan is weak, it's not that weak, right? Yeah, I didn't expect that either. Ruahuo smiled. This time the Uchiha clan meeting was more important, so Ruahuo invited many, reputable, people in Konoha. Ruahuo didn't plan to go to Hyuga at first, but he considered a problem on the way, which led to the subsequent 100 million yuan compensation case. Danzo. It's been a month, and it's as if Danzo is really dead, with no news at all. Includes root tissue. This organization has obviously not been disbanded, but previous insinuations against the White Fang revealed that some members of the root organization have been incorporated into Konoha Anbu. The current root organization is temporarily managed by the third-generation head and two elders. Danzo is definitely not dead. Not to mention that this guy knows Izanagi, he even made up a pair of Sharingan for Fugaku. It is not easy to hide it from Fugaku. Wakaki didn't think that the third generation would kill him. You know, in the original time and space, even Danzo ordered the assassination of the third generation and was still sitting in the Hokage's office looking into the future. The third generation was also mocking the two. The sentence is gone. These two brothers wear the same pair of trousers. Moreover, the fact that the Uchiha clan's military exploits were treated coldly is full of Danzo's shadow. Ruahuo really wants to see Yido Zhang now. The replacement of the leader of the root organization must be nodded by Danzo's head, right? He has recognized Danzo's will of fire, so Danzo must at least respond, right? To be honest, Wakahara still admires Black Zetsu and Danzo as the protagonists of this anime. Isn't it too much to ask for an autograph? He just wants to chase stars. There's nothing wrong with him. He has already set a precedent for the clan meeting 3 days later. This clan leader battle will be the focus of all Konoha in the near future. Although there is no way to send the invitation letter to Danzo. But if Huo feels that Danzo will definitely respond to his will of fire. By then, no matter how careful Danzo is, he will definitely leave some clues. But Uchiha's intelligence capabilities are too low. Although the system does not have such attributes, Ruahuo estimates that if it does, it will be D-level. So Ruahuo thought of the Tiger Bomb family, Hyuga. The Hyuga clan are born human flesh monitors, the kind with see-through. Ruahuo just gave it a try to see if he could hire a Hyuga security guard with a high salary. But unexpectedly, after some pulling, Hyuga Hiyashi actually agreed. They must be scared. Obito's thoughts are more direct. They are afraid that if they don't agree, Kokuo and Goku will bomb them with tailed beast jade. That's possible. Ruahuo raised his eyebrows, but Obito was right. Not only Hyuga, but also the third generation are afraid of the tailed beasts. Otherwise, how could someone as smart as third generation ignore the rent issue of the tailed beast house? You must know that this, rent, was proposed by third generation from the beginning to deduct his reward for his war achievements. He is now using 500 million taels to acquire the root organization, but he will not pay the rent. Wakahara was ready at that time, and as long as the third generation dared to mention it, he dared to let the tailed beast settle in Konoha. Whether it's the Uchiha or the Hitaki clan, it all depends on whether third generation dares to agree. However, compared to fear, Ruahuo is actually more inclined to another possibility. If Danzo were still in Konoha, then will this Hyuga become Danzo's cover? Taking a step back, with such a good opportunity this time, will Danzo take the initiative to find Hyuga and do something to Uchiha? The enemy coming from the dark place only made Ruahuo look forward to it even more. After all, this is one of the few opportunities for him to get close to his idol. At dusk, Obito spears fish by the river. Shisui is cleaning the guts of a hare. Ruahuo was browsing his A-level skills. He really doesn't have many A-level skills. The first one he learned from Fugaku was the fire style, dragon flame singing technique. This is an unorthodox ninjutsu. Ruahuo has always scorned this technique. The 4-shot fire dragon blocks the enemy without blind spots. It looks cool, but it also requires precise chakra control. In contrast, Great Fireball Plus directly blocks the entire area and can become the leader if necessary. Is this much less reliable? Ruahuo was prepared to deliberately give him the opportunity to use this trick when he saw Uchiha Madara in the future and then mocked him. Besides, in Wakahui's A-level ninjutsu reserve, Orochimaru also taught him the ninjutsu shuriken shadow clone technique, and later he learned the earth-style yellow spring Numa, and the earth-style earth dragon bullet. Later, I copied earth-style from Huang too. These are not the A-level main skill options that Ruahuo likes. For escape techniques, the Great Fireball can satisfy it, and it can also be activated with the Eye technique. The brother of Shadow Clone technique, Shuriken Shadow Clone technique, has no entry. At this stage, if there are no special terms, or the special terms cannot satisfy Ruahuo, Ruahuo will not consider it. Moreover, the effect of pupil technique activation must also be considered. Do you want it for you? Ruahuo locked in the last option, Rasengan. A-level main skill Rasengan preview concentrate chakra in the hand, continuously flow in irregular directions, and compress it to form a non-attribute chakra ball as big as the palm of your hand, which has extremely high destructive power. Main skill increase 1. Ultimate Chaos. A variety of special effects can be forcibly attached to this skill. Each time a special effect is added, the power is up pointing arrow 200% and the special effect is up pointing arrow 300%. It can be superimposed without limit. This skill has no risk of failure. Main skill amplification 2. Inward gravity. When the chakra coefficient reaches 1000%, the skill will begin to collapse and distort the surrounding space. Minimum duration. 1s. Main skill limit 1. After upgrading to the main skill, the upper limit of the skill's use will be locked to 1 inch, and it will enjoy a 90-second cooling effect. Main skill limitation 2. After upgrading to the main skill, the maximum amount of chakra this skill can carry is 5% of the host. Main skill restriction 3. After upgrading to the main skill, if this skill is activated with pupil technique, it will consume up pointing arrow 100%. Quote. Ruahuo's expression went from nervous, to excited, to extremely excited, then nodded, then frowned, and finally entered sage mode. Good news. Rasengan has triggered entries, and there are quite a few entries. One is equivalent to raising the upper limit of Rasengan's power in another way, officially changing Rasengan into Special Effect Rasengan. Counting the fire chakra, Ruahuo can now inject a total of 3 special effects into Rasengan, 2 of which come from 4 tails and 5 tails. Theoretically, it can increase the power of Rasengan by 6 times, plus 9 times the special effect damage. This improvement is very impressive, taking into account the reduction of consumption and the increase of power. The same amount of chakra can theoretically be superimposed to more than 10 times the power. Another effect, inward gravity. Ruahuo looked left and right, and felt that there seemed to be a meaning expressed between the lines. But his physics scores are average, and he's not sure whether that's what he means. Black holes. Are not something this world can bear, right? But gravitational contraction and space distortion. Why does this illiterate introduction look so like an artificial black hole? This made Ruahuo a little anxious. Due to man's nature, when encountering something like this, he should click on it and take a look. But he's still an Uchiha. Uchiha who always maintains his sanity. Cold perception, absolute operation. If you click it, there will be no chance to do it again. 3 restrictions, each more outrageous than the last. The first 2 have similar limitations to Shadow Clone. However, the cooldown is 30 seconds longer, and the maximum chakra charge is also reduced to 5% of the own chakra limit. The first one is acceptable. It has a long cooldown, so use it as an ultimate move. If you hold back one big shot, you might not even be able to use the second one. But starting from the second restriction, it becomes more and more outrageous. 5% chakra cap. If I want to experiment with the second attribute now, I need to have at least 200 Rasengan chakra levels. Ruahuo took a deep breath. He had just celebrated his 7th birthday 1 month ago. Black Child in Tears.jpg. The key is the third one. Use the pupil technique to activate, and the consumption will be doubled. If you want to activate Rasengan with your left eye and trigger the retracting gravity effect, you must have at least 400 rounds of Rasengan's chakra reserves. So be it. Ruahuo immediately closed the system interface. He has something more important, learning an S-level ninjutsu to upgrade the little Vulcan and activate the ability of his right eye. Although if you just clean up Fugaku, there is no need to be so grand. But this wave is to show off its muscles to the entire konoha and break the stereotype of those people that this kid only relies on tailed beasts. But having said that, after taking care of Fugaku, there's a good chance that 3rd generation won't dare to give me any more ninjutsu, right? Ruahuo realized another problem. In a duel with Fugaku, 4 tails and 5 tails will definitely not be able to survive. He didn't plan to bring 4 tails and 5 tails with him, not that it was too bullying, but Konoha would definitely disagree. Even though he didn't borrow the tailed beast's power, he was 180% sure that he could defeat Fugaku with 30% of his strength. He only showed 30% of his strength, which was part of Ruahuo's plan. This will just put some pressure on 3rd generation Mi and Danzo, so that they can target Uchiha. It's best to make some big splash so that he can show 70% of his strength and become Uchiha's great hero. Human beings all have bad qualities. The same goes for Uchiha. This clan has a history of betraying its clan leader, and Ruahuo is not going to take any chances. But in this way, his personality will change from Uchiha Little Genius to Uchiha Supernova, who is very likely to surpass Uchiha Madara. No matter how ambitious the 3rd generation is, it will never choose to capitalize the enemy again. S-level ninjutsu, I guess you don't even have to think about it. Although it is estimated that 3rd generation will not be able to give him S-level ninjutsu from the beginning, there is a high probability that A-level ninjutsu will be possible. Then you have to do it early. Ruahuo narrowed his eyes. There are still 3 days left before the decisive battle. If we cannot seize this last opportunity, then before the decisive battle with Konoha, perhaps the only way is to support Orochimaru to rise to power. Brother, you can eat it. Today's rabbit is so big and delicious. Shisui pulled off a piece of rabbit leg and rushed it to Ruahuo. Although it was a little burnt on the outside, the 3 brothers agreed that it tasted the best this way. You eat first, Shisui. Ruahuo rubbed Shisui's little head and said, I'll go home directly after eating. I have something else to do, so I'll go back later. After saying that, Ruahuo immediately raised his fingers, and a fire dragon appeared, then took off and flew straight away. Shisui blinked and watched his elder brother disappear into the distance. He stretched out 2 fingers and tried it, but then gave up quickly. Chakra is not enough. Well, just eat more meat and grow faster. Shisui eats meat and looks forward to the day when he can ride a fire dragon. Ruahuo flew in the sky for a while riding the fire dragon. Feeling that something was missing again, I found a park, changed into Anbu's equipment in the woods, and set off again. He has already thought about how to tell 3rd generation. He can trade his mutant series, fire style, for ninjutsu. It all depends on who is more capable of deceiving. Although mutation ninjutsu is highly unlikely to be learned by others, all Uchiha elites have tried it, and the best result in the end is just using the original technique. But as long as the promotion is done well, what if third generation becomes convinced? He also has dust style. You can at least get a few ninjutsu with this, right? If you pretend you can't learn it, maybe you can even bring the sealed book over. If the fire flies all the way. This time no one stopped him, but just when Ruahuo was about to walk through the main entrance, he found that Orochimaru had already opened the window for him in Hokage's office. Ruahuo didn't hesitate and jumped directly into Hokage's office. I thought you wouldn't come today, Lord Ruahuo. Orochimaru smiled. Ruahuo glanced at his desk, which still had half-approved official documents, and his expression gradually became strange. Teacher, are you experiencing what it's like to be a Hokage? Ruahuo asked. It's just adapting in advance. Orochimaru shrugged. You were right, Hokage-sama is already old and can no longer work as hard as before. As a disciple, you always have to share some burdens with the teacher. Orochimaru's smile always had something in it. Gudong. Ruahuo's heartbeat sped up inexplicably, and his mouth felt a little dry. Teacher, if that's the case, I also want to help you share some things. Oh, Orochimaru sat back in Hokage's seat. Not to mention, this version of Orochimaru is elegant and gentle. It doesn't feel out of place when you sit here. If Lord Ruahuo is about to become the clan leader, you should really get used to it in advance. If anyone in Konoha thinks that Ruahuo can succeed in the challenge, apart from B&D, Orochimaru must be the first. In other words, including the third generation project and even Fugaku, the reason why Konoha has this misunderstanding about Wakahui is that Orochimaru's yin and yang intelligence must be the first contributor. In fact, Ruahuo had already discovered it. Orochimaru has not only been indulging him, but also often helps him deal with some special problems. Ruakata must admit that his achievement today is inseparable from Orochimaru's assists. If it weren't for Orochimaru's help, he wouldn't have been able to reach Canopy Bridge's mission. Five Tails will also miss out, and a series of subsequent events will not happen. But assists are assists, and indulgences are indulgences. Favors can be repaid later, so I just put Orochimaru on the fourth generation project. Now, Orochimaru is still his teacher, and as a serious and responsible Uchiha, Wakahui feels that he needs to supervise Orochimaru and continue to fulfill his obligations as a teacher. Being a clan leader is not easy to adapt to. Uchiha doesn't have many properties. My two younger brothers have some management experience in the ninja school, so they can assist me. Ruahuo said it didn't matter. By the way, teacher. Ruahuo foreshadowed. My two younger brothers have passed my assessment. Can I ask them to come over tomorrow to receive ninja forehead protection? This teacher is ready, Lord Ruahuo. Orochimaru took out a tray from under his desk, with 2 forehead protectors and 2 ninja certificates on it. Originally, the teacher wanted to go there in person tonight. Orochimaru smiled and said, but since Wakahuo-kun is here, then compared to me as a guidance ninja, Wakahuo-kun, as the elder brother, will naturally be more suitable. Orochimaru is still so caring. Although the assessment ninja is Wakahui, the mentor ninja designated by the third generation project for Obito and Shisui is still Orochimaru. Ruahuo didn't feel much about this matter at first. It's just a name, it doesn't matter. But now, this name is indeed very meaningful to Ruahuo. Okay. Ruahuo put away his forehead protector and ninja certificate, pretending to check them, and prepared to get to the point. Then the teacher will have 3 students from now on. It will be really hard to help Mr. Third Generation with his official duties. Ruahuo put away his ninja certificate and put his forehead protector into his bag. He looked up at Orochimaru, only to see Orochimaru looking at him with a smile. The eyes of the master and the apprentice converged, and their eyes intertwined. A silent sense of understanding connected the two. It is indeed a bit hard. Orochimaru looked directly into Ruahuo's eyes and smiled. There may be a lot of official duties during this period, and I'm afraid I may have neglected to provide guidance to Lord Ruahuo and my 2 younger brothers. Ruahuo also looked directly into Orochimaru's eyes, but his expression was serious. It's okay, teacher. I have been responsible for teaching them since they were young. Now that I am about to become a ninja in my own right, I naturally have to help the teacher share some of the burden. Ruahuo continued. Teacher has taught me how to be a qualified disciple, maybe now I should also learn how to be a qualified teacher. Qualified teachers. Orochimaru's smile became even brighter, as this considered Wakao-kun's recognition of the teacher. Of course, Ruahuo replied without thinking. Teacher is not only the best instructor ninja I recognize, but also the best candidate for 4th Hokage in my mind. I really hope that sensei can stay in this position, so that when I am ready to lead the security department to face the entire ninja world, sensei can help me more. Is that so? Orochimaru's eyes flickered. When he heard the child mention this wish, again, he felt a completely different feeling. Indeed, I still remember the first time I heard Ruahuo say these words, my first reaction was still a child's joke. But after going through so many things, now Orochimaru has found the power to believe. It seems that Lord Ruahuo has always been determined to realize his wish. Orochimaru agreed. So becoming the leader of the Uchiha clan and acquiring the root organization are part of Wakao-kun's wish to come true, right? The topic is more in-depth and more sensitive. Ruahuo raised his eyebrows. It's been a long time since Orochimaru said these borderless words to him. When was the last time you came? Oh yes, it seems to be after the Chunin assessment. Orochimaru came to him with a rescue mission, and the two sides started a wonderful conversation. The final result. Well, anyway, since he came back from riding 5 tails and accidentally ripped off his idol's bandage, Orochimaru rarely does this kind of thing. Not only that, but he has also become very tolerant and very considerate. So is this a new round of temptation? Of course. Wakaka takes it for granted. If we want the Uchiha security department to face the entire ninja world, expanding its power and upgrading its concepts are indispensable and important steps. I feel that Elder Danzo's dark will is very suitable to be integrated into the security department. After all, the justice upheld by the security department cannot just stay on the surface. After all, Ruahuo's expression remained indifferent, as if he was stating a normal fact. It is also very important for the internal cleanup work of justice. Orochimaru's eyes suddenly lit up. The kid got it. This kid really knows it. Internal purge. This is the true face of the root organization. They only serve Danzo Elder and eradicate all hazards that Danzo Elder believes will threaten Konoha. So how did this kid find out? He has tested Fugaku enough times, but Fugaku doesn't see it as clearly as this child. No, this child seemed to have the most intuitive and correct judgment on the root organization's mission from the very beginning. Rats in the gutter. And Elder Danzo, whom he respected very much and believed to have a strong will of fire, was the one in charge of these rats. And it was this that Orochimaru found most interesting. When the child discovered the true face of Elder Danzo, instead of being as hostile as he was to the White Fang and Minato, he came to the conclusion that it turns out that the will of fire and the will of darkness are compatible. So this is the fundamental reason why this kid wants to acquire the root tissue. Let Uchiha also embrace, no, harness the darkness. You look surprised, teacher. Wakahui's eyes are still the same as those of Orochimaru, because the current Orochimaru is the one he is most familiar with. Diagnosed. This Orochimaru has indeed awakened. It's just that the span of awakening may be a little outrageous. It feels like he has skipped the great scientist stage and jumped to the dream master of the 4th Ninja War. That's just right. He also has many wishes, such as the development of curse seals and Hashirama cells. Or the freedom of ninjutsu. To be precise, I am happy. Ruahuo-kun, your growth has indeed exceeded the teacher's expectations. Orochimaru's eyes showed no less interest, but he still ended the topic with a tacit understanding. If you continue to test it, this little guy may not be happy. Really, Ruahuo shook his head, I'm very dissatisfied with my progress during this period. Regular ninjutsu can no longer satisfy me, sensei. If I want to make progress, I need more advanced ninjutsu. Ruahuo stretched out a hand. Teacher, I understand that you are busy with work, so let's skip the teaching steps. I heard that there is a sealed book in Konoha, which is full of difficult ninjutsu. Teacher, please let me take a look and I will try to see if I can master it on my own. It will definitely not take up your precious time. S-level ninjutsu. also known as secret-level ninjutsu. The biggest feature is that it is extremely difficult to learn. Except for some escape techniques, most S-level ninjutsu can no longer be activated solely by seals, and require complex techniques as a carrier. S-level ninjutsu is not equal to forbidden arts. In addition to endangering the personal safety of the practitioner, the determination of forbidden techniques also has certain moral flaws. For example, there are only A-level, learning difficulty, multiple shadow clone techniques. Sudden creation of a large number of shadow clone will most likely drain the caster dry. Therefore, the inventor Senju Tobarama judged it as a forbidden technique, and sealed the method of use in the sealed book. Teacher, this technique seems to be a semi-finished product. Why can it be put into the Book of Sealings? In Hokage's office, in front of Hokage's desk. With Orochimaru's approval, the master and apprentice spread the large scroll on the ground and read it carefully. Ruahuo pointed to the second forbidden technique in the sealed book and asked. Not all techniques can be recorded in words, Lord Ruahuo. Orochimaru carefully read the content of this art, and his eyes shone with the desire and excitement for knowledge that a wise man should have. This is obviously an extremely complex ninjutsu, requiring a lot of preparation and even sacrifices. Although there is no detailed usage method recorded in the Book of Sealing, there is no doubt that the idea and concept of this technique alone are enough to be completely banned. Using living people as sacrifices to recall the souls of the dead from the Pure Land. This is indeed in line with ordinary people's definition of evil. But what interests Orochimaru even more is the developer of this technique, Second Hokage, Senju Tobarama. Second Hokage is really a ninja with fantastic ideas. Ruahuo also commented on this technique. Resurrecting the dead and bringing the dead back to reality is such a heart-warming thing. It's a pity that such a technique can only stay in the sealed book. I don't know what the third-generation master thinks. That's right, the second technique in the Book of Sealing is reincarnation in the earth. However, it only recorded the operational concept and basic logic of this forbidden technique. It is a bit excessive to say that it is a semi-finished product. It is basically a concept without even a framework. The real reincarnation of the Dirty Land should be in Konoha's Forbidden Arts Cottage. Perhaps this is the reason why the third generation dared to let Naruto steal the Book of Sealing. Then again, if Naruto can really learn how to reincarnate in the dirt at the beginning, then... Oh, surprise flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. Does Lord Ruahuo view this technique this way? Sure enough, the evil in this child's eyes was completely different from those of ordinary people. In the eyes of this child, Iwagakure is evil. Because they sealed Wakahui's companions inside Jinchuriki, they have been exploiting the freedom and power of the tailed beasts. But this technique, which requires the sacrifice of living people and disturbs the rest of the dead, is warm in Ruahuo's eyes. What this kid said about Second Hokage is also quite interesting. What a fantastic idea. Oh, it's more than just a fantastic idea, this is simply a vision and concept that transcends the times. Yes, Ruahuo nodded, this technique is very suitable for the security department. Whether it is used to interrogate intelligence or make reasonable use of the criminal's body, it is excellent. Choose. I have always thought that the law of sentencing the death penalty to criminals with the most heinous crimes is very unreasonable. This will not only punish the sinner's body, but also destroy the brilliance deep in the sinner's soul. Ruahuo talked about facts and reason, saying, for example, Elder Danzo, although he apologized and committed suicide, his will of fire is extremely strong. Elder Danzo's death is definitely a loss to Konoha. If you can use this technique to resurrect Elder Danzo and let him continue to shine for Konoha, this may be the best way to atone for Elder Danzo. Orochimaru fell silent. He must admit that this child saw the glitter of this technique. If this child was born in another era, maybe this technique can really be preserved. Wakao-kun is right. But please be sure not to mention this to others. Orochimaru patted Wakaki's shoulder, a rare and serious look, this is very important. I understand, teacher. Ruahuo nodded in a serious manner and said, the teacher is appropriating the power of the fourth Hokage in advance. Once someone reports it, it may be detrimental to the teacher's election. Before Sensei becomes the fourth Hokage, I will not be able to use the ninjutsu in the sealed book. Reincarnation in dirty soil, pass. Although he had no hope at first, Ruahuo still felt it was a pity. Although this technique is half finished, Tobarama did successfully summon the souls of the dead. Maybe the only difference from Orochimaru's perfect filth reincarnation is the control of the soul and the restoration of the deceased's previous strength. It doesn't matter, he just wants to call out the big pillar and learn wood style and so on. After all, the S-level forbidden technique is not as easy to learn as the S-level ninjutsu. After all, it cannot trigger the buff of the little Vulcan. But S-level ninjutsu are too rare. It's as strong as Rasengan, but its rating is only an A. Kakashi's self-developed Chidori, and the Kirin triggered by Sasuke's fire style are both rated S-level, but he can only become popular. Ruahuo was suddenly stunned for a moment. Yes. Why can't he develop an S-class fire style himself? It's difficult to learn. Wouldn't it be better to make it more complicated? A dragon-breaking singing technique is still an A-level ninjutsu. What's wrong, Wakahuo-kun? Orochimaru next to him asked curiously. At this moment, Orochimaru seemed to see the shadow of his childhood in Ruahuo. Ruahuo shook his head. Nothing, teacher, I just got some inspiration, let's continue, The way this detonating talisman is made is a bit magical. In addition to the detonating talisman spell, it seems that it is also engraved with the psychic spell. The technique of tandem paper bombs, where one detonating talisman can channel other detonating talismans, causing a series of explosions, is second Hokage's tactic to match the reincarnation of the earth. But this tactic obviously lowers the upper limit of the reincarnation of the dirty land. From Ruahuo's perspective, these two techniques may not be paired together. Ruahuo silently recorded the structure and production process of this special detonating talisman, and another girl's name inexplicably appeared in his mind. Conan. I don't know if Conan can mass-produce this kind of detonating charm. Wakaka looked at the column where the Uchiha clan's war reserves were kept. S-class war reserves, isn't this coming? Dad, what's wrong with your eyes? It had been a long time since Asma saw her old father drinking tea and smoking at home before dark. Although he had a bad day at school today, he was framed, but no one believed him, and many classmates accused him of not taking responsibility. What made Asuma the most angry was that Hongyang finally agreed to take him to the weekend picnic, but when school was over, she told him that the event was cancelled. Asuma didn't understand. He obviously just exposed Uchiha Obito's selling of detonating charms at school. Even if he wasn't praised, at least he shouldn't be treated like this, right? I came home depressed and saw my father rubbing his eyes. Asma wanted to tell her father about today's situation, but she found that her father's right eye kept twitching. It's probably because I've been too busy recently. It's okay, Asma. Third generation rubbed his eyes, feeling like he had forgotten something and had a bad feeling. But third generation probably knows where this bad premonition comes from. Certainly not from the battlefield. The current battlefield situation on Konoha's front line can be described as very good. Iwagakure lost two-tailed beasts and suffered heavy losses. All frontline troops shrank and officially entered a state of defense. Kumogakure also temporarily gave up the attack on the Fire Country, turned around and continued to launch a surprise attack on Sunagakure. Sunagakure has not yet been able to find their third-generation Kazekage, but they have elected the fourth-generation Kazekage and are resisting Kumogakure's invasion. The pressure from the four major ninja villages on the Konoha frontline immediately left only the Kurigakure side. Not long ago, Kurigakure's frontline troops landed in the old land of Whirlpool Country and completed their stationing. The front line is now in a state of confrontation. Kurigakure is not a problem. What really gives third generation a headache is actually coming from the ninja school. A bunch of kids trying to blow up the ninja school. They are all the future of Konoha. How could they do such a thing? It seems that there has been a huge problem with the inheritance of the will of fire. According to Omuchunen's report, in addition to Ruahuo's two younger brothers, his youngest son is also suspected of being involved. Tell me about your story, Asuma. Third generation ignored the frantic beating of his right eye and looked at Asuma calmly. Asuma, I don't mean to blame you, I just want to have a heart-to-heart talk with you. Is this gone? Hokage building. After half an hour of exploration and research, the master and the apprentice finally finished reading the last technique of the Book of Sealing, the technique of spiritualization. Compared to other forbidden techniques, this technique has one of the few records with specific activation methods, but the reason for being banned is far-fetched. This technique is indeed a bit dangerous. When activating this ninjutsu, the caster may fall into an extremely dangerous state because the soul cannot return to the body in time. But that's not the reason for the ban. The reason why the art of spiritual transformation was included in the Book of Sealing is because the family that developed this art can no longer pass it on. The person who decided to seal the spiritual transformation technique was the third Hokage. Orochimaru does know some inside information. It is said that Tsunade strongly requested to seal this technique. As for the specific reason, Orochimaru did not elaborate, but Ruaka could probably 8 trigrams. Forbidden techniques are extremely dangerous and are destined to not be easily created. Lord Ruahuo. Orochimaru smiled and closed the sealed book. Obviously, he was also very satisfied with today's harvest. Maybe. Wakahui shrugged and watched Orochimaru carefully put the sealed book back into its place and restore all the previous arrangements. It is obvious that what happened in the office today must be concealed from the purpose of third generation. It's a pity that third Hokage failed to inherit the research and development spirit of second Hokage, otherwise the Book of Sealings wouldn't be so thin. Ruahuo complained. The sealed book is made so mysterious and the scroll is so big, but in fact there are not many forbidden arts in it. And except for a few records of activation methods, others only record principles and concepts, such as the reincarnation of the dirty earth and the flying thunder god. The wood-style ninjutsu that Wakaka had longed for was not included. This is very unreasonable. Wood style requires a lot of life force to be activated. If the big pillar can resist it, can other ninjas resist it? Isn't this the same as multiple shadow clone? By not including wood style in the Book of Sealings, wouldn't this be a form of discrimination against wood style, the Great Pillar, and even the reincarnation of Asura? If Lord Third Generation hears your comments, he may be sad, Wakahuo-kun. Orochimaru responded with a smile and put back the sealed book, but he was still groping for something on the cabinet. The direction of third generation's research and development of ninjutsu lies in the combination of ninjutsu. Third generation's master is a being known as Professor Ninjutsu. The combination of ninjutsu he masters is one of Konoha's greatest assets. Orochimaru took out another small scroll. After opening it, he frowned. It seemed that it was not what he was looking for. He closed it again, put it back in its place, and continued to explore. This disciple of Hokage is obviously very familiar with every brick and tile of Hokage's office. They are not comparable, teacher. Ruahuo frowned. In addition to being dissatisfied with the contents of the sealed book, what dissatisfied Ruahuo even more was Orochimaru's attitude towards forbidden arts. That's it. You've all seen the dirt reincarnated, and this is your only reaction. Don't be blinded by power, teacher. What you should pursue is the truth of this world. Third generation master is destined to only improve on the existing basis, he will never be able to create. Ruahuo tried to awaken the genes hidden deep in Orochimaru's heart and continued. He didn't even discover the code left by second Hokage for future generations. Orochimaru paused, turned his head, and looked at Ruahuo with interest. Wakao-kun, did you find anything? Signal, are there any other secrets in the sealed book? Of course, the teacher should have discovered such an obvious thing, right? Wakahui naturally pointed to the Hokage rock outside the window, where the heads of previous Hokages were carved, symbolizing their protection of Konoha. The second generation project obviously has a very high enthusiasm for the research and development of ninjutsu. Although many powerful ninjutsu have been banned, the second generation project obviously does not want to give up the opportunity to pursue the truth. If I weren't busy with official duties as Hokage, the second generation project would definitely be able to develop more ninjutsu. Orochimaru nodded in agreement. When explaining the Book of Sealing to Wakahui, he said that compared to the second generation project after becoming Hokage, before the establishment of Konoha, the second generation project only assisted the first generation project but created more ninjutsu. For example, the Flying Thunder God was developed by the second generation project when they were young. It was so difficult that no one could learn it for decades, until Minato appeared. But what does this have to do with the secret code? This child said. Orochimaru didn't quite understand. What did this kid discover? That's why he developed the art of reincarnation, teacher. Ruahuo Mingpai. Although it seems to be used in conjunction with tandem paper bombs, the two techniques are obviously not that compatible. Resurrecting the dead is only used to attack the enemy. This is obviously not a decision that a wise person like second Hokage would make. Ruahuo spread his hands and said with some regret, second generation is obviously waiting for someone who can truly understand him to appear. Perfect his jutsu and resurrect him, then continue to develop ninjutsu and explore the truth of life. You think so, teacher? Early in the morning, 6:30. The third generation walked through the streets of Konoha with a pipe in their mouth and came to the Hokage building. Yesterday's father-son talk with my youngest son ended on bad terms with Asma's words, "You don't understand me at all." After coaxing my wife Biwahu for a long time, she finally asked the truth. Asuma was indeed wrongly accused. He did not buy the detonating talisman at all, but he did plan to steal the detonating talisman at home and sell it at school, but Ruahuo's younger brother refused. This makes third generation very angry. If Lake Biwa hadn't stopped him, this kid would have had to eat a cane meal. Pushing open the door to Hokage's office, what he saw was Orochimaru with his hands behind his back, looking through the floor-to-ceiling windows at the scenery of Konoha in the early morning. He looked again at the piles of neatly arranged documents on Hokage's desk. This kid, couldn't he have stayed up all night to handle all the official duties left by me? Third generation looked a little surprised. Looking at Orochimaru, let alone the current Orochimaru, he really has a bit of Hokage's temperament in him. After living in Konoha for so long, this is the first time I have seen the village awaken like a new life from such a perspective. Orochimaru turned around, with no trace of exhaustion on his handsome face, and a smile that made people feel like spring breeze. Good morning, teacher. Let's not talk about how Orochimaru was in the past. There is no telling what Orochimaru will become in the future. At least at this moment, Orochimaru fits the image of the heir in the eyes of the third generation in every aspect. Don't stay up all night just because you're young. There's no end to your official duties, Orochimaru. The third generation taught a lesson, but did not check Orochimaru's homework. Instead, he came to the floor-to-ceiling window, stood side by side with the disciple, and admired the scene outside the window. Orochimaru didn't respond and looked out the window again. Third generation was silent for a moment, then asked, "How do you feel after staying here for one night?" "It's very rewarding." Orochimaru smiled slightly and responded without thinking. "It seems that a certain perspective has been opened, and all the confusions in the past have suddenly become clear." Thanks to the kid for the reminder. With new perspectives and new eyes, Orochimaru also found a new direction. The call from second Hokage. Exploring the truth and finding the meaning of life is what he should pursue, isn't it? At the same time, the Uchiha tribe. Surrounded by mountains and rivers, it is the private practice base of the three brothers in CBD. Boom. With a loud noise, Obito was stunned for 2 seconds, then ran towards his elder brother with the broken ball. "Brother." It exploded. It exploded. This broken ball is really explosive. The early bird catches the worm. The third generation goes to work at 6:30, but the three brothers started practicing at 5 o'clock. Since Wakahu showed Rasengan to Minato a month ago, this A-level ninjutsu, he has the legal right to practice. With the help of Sharingan, Obito finally completed the initial practice of this technique in a month. Not bad. Ruahuo nodded with satisfaction and casually called out a shadow clone. Shadow clone, who thought for a second like Ruahuo, raised his hand and whipped out a Rasengan. "Come with me, Obito, first try to use this technique completely. When your technique can defeat my shadow clone, I will help you sign up for the Chunin assessment." Shadow clone took Obito away. Wakahui looked at little Shisui who was practicing shuriken next to him. Compared to Obito, Shisui is easier to practice. Because of his age and the fact that he had not yet started Sharingan, Ruahuo did not arrange too high-intensity training. But there is no doubt that Shisui's talent is not inferior to Kakashi's. Wait for a while to go to the battlefield to gain experience. When they come back, Uchiha CBD group will probably be able to debut. According to the system's judgment, the strength attribute of the strongest person in the clan does not account for a high proportion in the overall evaluation. If Huo wants to hit the S-level rating, he still has to improve the overall strength of his tribe. Seize territory, seize supplies, liberate the tailed beasts, and target the 6 paths. Waiting for a series of goals to be completed, it is estimated that the evaluation of S level is almost there. When the time comes, it will be directly upgraded and seamlessly connected, directly bringing the security department out of Konoha and facing the entire ninja world. But until then, Ruahuo glanced at the system interface. Little Vulcan is being upgraded. The estimated remaining time is 10 minutes. Closing square bracket. During the upgrade, the quick learning function is temporarily unavailable, and the ninjutsu effect is already available. Hey, Ruahuo rubbed his hands with a little expectation. The final S-level skill was given to him by his dear Orochimaru, the future 4th Hokage, Uchiha's good friend, and the future technical advisor of the Ninja World Security Department, Mr. Obishimaru. Orochimaru explored the mystery of the sealed book with him yesterday. The harvest is not small, but there are not many that can be used at present, especially the S-level forbidden techniques, which are just a cover. But Orochimaru didn't let him go home empty-handed. When they parted, Orochimaru found 2 more scrolls for him in the cabinet where the sealed book was stored. The 2 scrolls are one large and one small. They are both old and contain ninjutsu, and there are quite a lot of them. Some of them he had already learned, and some were because Orochimaru's previous authority was not enough and he could not teach him for the time being. The content can probably be summarized as Tobarama Water-style encyclopedia. One thing to say, being Orochimaru's disciple is definitely a very happy thing. Although Orochimaru is not the 4th Hokage yet, the aspect of using power for personal gain is obviously in place. This made Wakaki even more determined to support Orochimaru in his rise to power. Konoha can't lose a Hokage like Orochimaru, just like the West can't lose Jerusalem. Tobarama has a lot of water-style ninjutsu. In terms of damage alone, S-level water-style water breaking wave and S-level water-style hard vortex water blade are definitely T0 levels. Although it is officially said that only second Mizukage's water fatty technique is an S-class water style, I no longer believe the official words. AB knows nothing about Hokage. These 2 S-class water styles directly filled Ruahuo's final gap, and the little Vulcan immediately met the upgrade conditions. And this wave of upgrades seems to be a bit strong. It takes a total of 2.5 hours to complete, and the anticipation is high. When the little Vulcan is upgraded, he should be able to learn this technique, right? Ruahuo took out another small scroll from his pocket. Because the little Vulcan was unable to learn during his upgrade period, he could not learn the contents of this scroll yet. But Ruahuo is extremely looking forward to it. Wood-style wooden dragon technique, creator, Senju Hashirama. If you don't understand, just ask. Today's Fugaku may not even have Mangekyo. Just use this hand, what can Fugaku do to block it? Upgrade completed. Your little Vulcan has been upgraded to Lord of Flames. Flame Dominator Passive 1. You can always quickly learn all escape techniques, but all your escape techniques will be converted into flame form and retain the main characteristics. Fire Master Passive 2. The power of your fire style skill is up pointing arrow 500%, and the consumption is down pointing arrow 90%. The minimum consumption is 10%. Flame Dominator Passive 3. You gain 99% high temperature immunity, and mobilizing flames. Secondary activation of fire style skills consumes down pointing arrow 100%. Fire Lord Active 1. Fire style chakra mode. Your body will be temporarily transformed into the flame form. In this form, you can only use fire style skills and limited eye skills. The power is up pointing arrow 500% and the consumption is exempted. In this form, you can use fire style skills on yourself. The current maximum duration of this form is 12.16 s. Increasing chakra reserves can extend the duration of this skill. Gudong. Ruahuo swallowed and silently raised 2 fingers. Puff. A shadow clone appears. Can you use that? It seems, it's really possible. Shadow clone responded with some difficulty while driving Mangekyo. Then, Ruahuo blinked. I'm going to find Kushina, just wait for me. Shadow clone ran away. Ruahuo took a deep breath. I checked this update announcement again. The more I read it, the more my heart beat faster. The basic passive of transforming flame seems to have remained unchanged, but it is much more detailed than before. And Ruahuo always felt that sooner or later, the word, escape, in escape, would have to disappear. The power and reduction have been strengthened, and all fire styles have basically received the bonus of sea-level main skills. This alone is worth the 10 hours of upgrade time. High temperature immunity has reached 99%, and with another 1%, the plan to reach the sun may be put on the agenda. If Ace had this buff, Red Dog wouldn't be any more arrogant. The key is to activate ninjutsu a second time to completely clear the consumption. Ruahuo twisted his lips. If this can mobilize the flames of the sun, who can be my opponent? Then, the last and first appearance is the only active skill. There are many chakra modes in the ninja world. For example, lava-style chakra mode, lightning-style chakra mode, tailed beast chakra mode. Ruahuo now also has his own chakra mode, flame domination mode. Moreover, the power of fire-style ninjutsu is increased by another 500%, and cumulatively it is 10 times more powerful. From now on, please call me Emperor Yan. It just doesn't last long. It seems like we need to hurry up and feed the little 10 tails. Ruahuo pouted. The duration of more than 10 seconds was indeed a bit awkward. And this should still count the chakra provided by Kurama in the mini ghetto statue. But no one can block a 12-second high-temperature laser, right? Wakaka raises his eyebrows, and in fire-style chakra mode, he can also activate ninjutsu on himself. Ruahuo's first reaction was to launch fire-water dragon bullets on himself, transform into a fire dragon, and charge at the enemy. But as soon as this idea appeared, he realized something, decisively opened the scroll, turned on Mangekyo, and started scanning. Ninjutsu type. S-level wood-style wooden dragon jutsu. When the flame dominator is triggered, you can learn all escape techniques, but they will all be transformed into the flame form. Successfully learned ninjutsu. Fire-style fire dragon technique. Main characteristics retained. Chakra absorption ninjutsu limited special effect. When your fire-style fire dragon technique hits the target, it can continuously absorb the target's chakra to replenish itself. Ruahuo was startled. Ninjutsu limited special effects. So this fire-style version of wood-style can also absorb chakra. Then if that's the case, fire dragon technique can absorb chakra and can also add solidification effects. Isn't this a proper high-temperature sealing techniques? Ruahuo looked up at the sky, and immediately thought of Xiaojiao, then pursed his lips, shook his head, and then thought of a certain octopus rapper, the B and AB brothers. Ruahuo looked at Obito not far away again. There is also a 2B among the CBD brothers, but Obito probably won't be able to grow to that level in a short time. Unless Obito also played a trick. Well, Ruahuo pursed his lips. He remembered that the first 2 times Obito came into contact with Four Tails Goku, they seemed to get along pretty well, right? Time will not stop, but it will look back for an important moment. For Uchiha, the upcoming Uchiha clan meeting should be the most important moment in recent years. This day, the leader of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hiyashi, led a group of Hyuga elites and set off from the Hyuga clan and headed straight for the Uchiha clan. The moment they stepped into the Uchiha tribe's land, the team was immediately locked in with cold eyes. They walked through the streets and through alleys. Wherever they pass, the naughty children will stop playing, and the old people will silently go back to their houses, take out their long knives that have been dusty for a long time, and polish them carefully. It was very similar to the day when the 3 Wakahui brothers went to Hyuga. Uchiha's attitude towards Hyuga is equally hostile. It's different from how Hyuga treats Uchiha. Although this hostility is clear, it is also full of disdain. Hyuga Hiyashi frowned all the way to the residence of the Uchiha clan leader. Fugaku and a group of Uchiha elites have been waiting for him for a long time. I kind of admire you, head of the Hyuga family. Fugaku's eyes flashed scarlet, and the 3 Magatama locked onto Hyuga Hiyashi, his tone cold and disdainful. Why, are you finally able to make up your mind to use ninja methods to resolve the grudges between the 2 clans? The head of the Hyuga family dared to bring Hyuga ninjas into the Uchiha clan, especially on this special day. This was indeed something Fugaku had not expected. But what Fugaku didn't expect was obviously more than that. I have always had determination, just not today. Hyuga Hiyashi threw a scroll to Uchiha Fugaku. After today, Uchiha's debt to Hyuga will be wiped out. At that time, if the head of the Uchiha family is still your excellency, you can talk about the future. Fugaku didn't quite understand what Hyuga Hiyashi said, so he opened the scroll suspiciously. Uchiha's kindness to Hyuga, what kind of kindness? So Hyuga Hiyashi brought a group of people to the Uchiha tribe today just to, Fugaku's expression changed. This is clearly a task commission. The Hyuga clan is entrusted to be responsible for the security of the outfield at today's Uchiha clan meeting. The remuneration is 102,140 taels, including special fees, and is marked non-refundable. The key is the signature of the client. The leader of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Ruahuo. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.